begin the introductory video. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 5th, 2017 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission. Thank you all for being with us this evening. And let's begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This will be our final county commission meeting of 2017. As we approach what is a holy season for the people of Christian and Jewish faiths in our community, let us hold a moment of silence during which people may offer a silent prayer or reflect on what this special time of year means for you, your family, and our community. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And thank you all for being with us this evening. I would like to read the ethics reminder to the board. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, and to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which would have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Also, does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before the board today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote on all matters that are voted on by the board this evening. As we discussed in our pre-session, we'd like to go ahead and have, under good news, an update on the Energy Saver Service Group students. And I think Brad Rouse is here, and perhaps with some others who will come up and present this item for us. Thank you for being here this evening.
So wait for some of our volunteers to come join us, and I'm going to start with a few remarks, and then you guys all fill in back here would probably be the best thing. Thank you for letting me speak today. Energy Savers Network is building a volunteer movement in Buncombe County to help our lower income neighbors reduce energy consumption, to lower their power bills, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We dream of building kind of a habitat for humanity around saving energy, and we thank the county for supporting our mission in doing that. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about what we've been doing and then turn it over to some of our volunteers who are behind me to say a few words. On a typical project, we perform an assessment and then we go out and do a workday. The workday usually takes about 20 volunteer hours, and we spend about $300 on average. We think we save our clients about $200 a year, so over 5 or 10 years, that ends up to be a pretty good return on investment. And we also discussed with our clients ways that they could change their behavior to save energy, and also ways that they could invest some of their own funds to save some additional energy, or look for ways to do that. For each home, we do things like we install LED lighting, we do water-saving shower heads, we do water heater installation, door weather stripping, interior storm windows. We plug visible leaks that we find, insulate attic hatches, seal connections between the ductwork and the registers. And a lot of times, almost every mobile home that we visit, we do that. Sometimes we identify and fix some more serious problems, like ducts that have been disconnected from the register altogether. Sometimes they're blowing, heating the outdoors, and windows that have been broken, and we'll fix the windows. We work in mobile homes. We work in site-built homes. We help owners and we help renters. Our services are no cost to the client, but we encourage our clients to participate either by helping us on the workday, by donating, by volunteering their time, or by referring their friends. And we ask people to kind of pay it forward, and we think that's an important part of what we do. Our clients are referred to us from agencies that you've heard of: Mountain Housing, ABCCM, Evelyn Charities, various churches, and others. And after visiting Evelyn last week and talking to some of their clients, I think we'll have no problem with finding clients for our services. And there's no shortage of people who need our help after just talking with the people at Evelyn for just a little while. We've had a momentous first year. We started out in 2016 volunteering with the team at Community Action Opportunities. And many thanks to Jack Hewer and Vicki Heidinger and the people over there for letting us gain some valuable experience in doing that. We did our first house on our own in November of 2016. In that period of time, we've completed 70 houses with 21 in progress. And then in August, we began an affiliation with the Greenbuilt Alliance, which we're very happy to be working with them. Sam's here, I think, in the audience. And since with working with Greenbuilt Alliance, we secured the county funding, which we very much appreciate, in addition to appreciating some of our other funders, individuals, New Belgium Brewing, All Souls Cathedral, First Baptist, and some other people that have provided some funds. I think we're going to get a little grant from our Rotary Club here. So those are the kinds of people and individuals. And I would also just encourage anybody in the audience to go out to www.energysaversnetwork.com and make a contribution to help in this effort. But we've completed 21 homes on the grant. We have 21 in progress. And we wouldn't be doing this without your help. And so we really do appreciate the help. And obviously we need, for this to really work for the longer term, we need to sustain the funding and sustain the work, because over time you build the capability within the community to do this kind of thing. Turning to our volunteers, they're really great. I think we have some great volunteers. For the year, we've engaged 1,400 volunteer hours directly on projects. This last weekend, we put in 100 volunteer hours with working on 4 projects. So that was a big weekend for us and for me. So we're trying to build our team, and also encourage everyone in this room to go out to www.energysaversnetwork.com and volunteer. So volunteer your time to come work with us sometime. And you learn skills, you build community, you have fun, you help your fellow man. What could be better, really? I think the final thing I want to say is we're most successful when we work as teams. Businesses, schools, environmental groups, neighborhood groups, government employee groups, churches can all get in the act. And this Saturday, for example, we had 3 teams working on 4 projects simultaneously. It was really a busy day, but I think we did accomplish a lot. And I'd like to turn it over to 2 of the volunteer groups. We've been working with the Asheville School as part of their volunteer program with 8 students from the Asheville School, and it's been great working with them. And then we've also been working with Piney Mountain Methodist Church, and we're going to have Kevin Bates talk a little bit about what they've been doing and their perspective on this. So who is, let's see, we'll just turn it over to the students, and let's go.
So, hi everyone. We are all from Asheville School, as we stated before. And service is a part of our curriculum. It's integrated in part of our curriculum, so it is required, but we also do it for the goods we get ourselves. And so one of the service groups in our school is called Energy Savers Network. And basically what we do is we visit low-income houses, and we fix those houses so that we reduce energy waste, and so that the dwellers in the houses can live life a little better.
And so you introduce yourself and
Oh,
where
sorry.
you're from and that sort of thing.
Okay, sorry. My name is Eric Min. I'm from Seoul, South Korea, and I'm a sophomore at Asheville School.
My name is Adam Stewart. I'm a junior at Asheville School, and I'm from Lewisburg, West Virginia. And so some of the things we do include insulating hot water tanks, weather stripping doors, insulating, reducing energy loss in windows by making energy efficient frames. And although when we first started, I didn't know how much of a difference this was going to make, it's been a really great experience to see firsthand the great results and how much it affects low income people and low income houses.
And do each of you want to just introduce yourself and say where you're from, and you don't have to give a speech. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Emma Holstein, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
I'm Connor Hovenden, and I'm from Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Jake Sim from South Korea.
Helena Cullen from Asheville.
I'm Jose Gonzalez from Mexico.
Great. And now, Kevin, if you want to say a few words, thank you.
Well, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Reverend Kevin Bates. I am the pastor of Piney Mountain United Methodist Church in Davis Chapel in Candler. And I'm also a member of the Creation Care Alliance of Western North Carolina and the Energy Savers Network. I want to thank the Commissioners and the county for their support of the Energy Savers Network and your commitment to create a more sustainable energy future for the people of this community and the mountains that we call home. Over the last year and a half, my church and Piney Mountain United Methodist Church have asked just how we could creatively engage with our calling and deep responsibility to love our neighbors in the Hominy Valley. It didn't take us long to see that caring for our neighbors and caring for God's creation went hand in hand. At every step of the way, we encountered those in our community who consistently have to choose between putting food on the table and paying their energy bills, or choosing whether they are going to pay for their heating cost or going to the doctor. This realization led my faith community on a journey to creatively love and care for our neighbors and the earth. Earlier this fall, we decided to meet those needs head on by passing out 1,200 LED light bulbs into our neighborhood. Those light bulbs displace 386 tons of carbon dioxide and will save our community $72,000 over the next 10 years. And I believe, Commissioner Belcher, you received 16 of those LED light bulbs because you
Yes,
live
sir.
as our neighbor.
How are you, neighbor?
Absolutely. But we didn't stop there. As a church, we continued to work on classes. We built a garden to provide vegetables for the community. We offered classes to the neighborhood on canning to reduce food waste, on composting and recycling to reduce trash waste and landfill waste. One of those classes was also on energy savings, and it was at this class that we met Brad Rouse and the Energy Savers Network. Over the following months, members of my church and myself engaged in the community, shoring up heating ducts, working on houses to insulate them, to wrap water heaters, and all the above. Commissioners, I've worked with many organizations, including ABCCM, that meets the crisis needs of our community. However, when it comes to heating and energy costs, we need to do more than provide short-term relief. And at the Energy Savers Network, I believe we're just doing that, doing more, by putting money back into people's pockets who need it the most, all the while caring for the earth. The Energy Savers Network shares a deep commitment to love people and to care for this earth in a way that I think benefits both. So once again, Commissioners, I want to thank you for your support. I look forward to continuing to recruit other faith communities into the Energy Savers Network, and I'm excited to work with you and the county on this good work of loving our neighbors as we create a 100% renewable and sustainable energy future together in Buncombe County. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for your great work. I've served with Brad on our local energy innovation task force that we work on with the city of Asheville and with Duke Energy and a bunch of great people in the community who want to explore ways that we can promote clean energy in the community. And We've been meeting for a couple of years looking at this now, and as we looked at what we could do to help meet these clean energy goals while also seeing how we could help people in the community too. And there's a lot of good ideas. There's going to be a lot of great projects that come out of it, but really it was the Energy Savers Network, I think we recognized as just one of the best ideas in the community. So we're glad to be a partner with you, and we look forward to continuing and growing that support. So thanks to all of you for what you're doing. It's
I
really
have
impressive.
to really reiterate that. I can't think of anything greater than turning a cold house warm. And I think it's amazing, and we hear a lot of things. We've not had the best year, but this is probably the highlight of our year, hearing about the great work of this organization, so I applaud you all.
Yeah, I want to thank you also, and this is evidence of boots on the ground, so to speak, people actually getting out there that care and really doing something about it. It's more than just a goal. It's more than just words. It's more than just that. They are actually meeting the need in their community. They're doing it in a compassionate way, and there are people that are deciding between food on their table and paying their energy bill, and anything that we can do to assist that, we're willing to do in a practical way, and it's a great investment, and I appreciate them also. Great to have them here. It's wonderful, and they did a really good job on their commercial. You should go to their .com address. If you didn't get it, you need to go. So.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to come back now to public comment. So let me share with everyone what our policies are on this.
The other good news.
You want to go and do the other good news item? That's fine. We
Yeah,
can do them both
please.
now.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, let's go ahead and handle the other good news item. So I believe Chip Jingle is here with us, and he will introduce the two county employees that we want to recognize this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It is an honor and a privilege to help recognize two outstanding members of our team in the solid waste department. First, Mr. Nicholas Edmonds. I have to laugh because I'm not supposed to call him Nicholas. It's Nick. Mr. Nick Edmonds. Nick is one of our team members who earlier this year took a SWANA course for Manager of Landfill Operations. And he later received a MOLO, which means he is a Manager of Landfill Operations. And so he is recognized as someone that can run transfer stations and landfills. And that's a tremendous honor. It's no easy course to take, and definitely not an easy accreditation to achieve. So hats off to Nick. Nick, congratulations.
And I want to congratulate you too. I've had the honor of knowing Nick for quite a while now. And what they have accomplished, he's been there for 14 years, and what they've accomplished at the landfill is great. Between him, his MOLO, that is something else. He's stepping up to do the work for us, and we're benefiting by giving him a little thing. But I think Jim's going to do that. But I appreciate it. He knows I appreciate it. He runs $1 million piece of equipment, and he takes pretty good care of it. So, but I thank you again. Appreciate both of you for what you do.
And next, we'd also like to call up Mr. James Yount. James, as some of you may know, took first place in the SWANA competition for Dozer here in North Carolina earlier this year. And he went on to represent Buncombe County down in Orlando, Florida. And I mean, I'm telling you, words don't do this competition justice. I mean, you have people that practice and they're doing courses at the landfills, and James didn't have that privilege. James went on just sheer skill. And people go back year after year and never even place in this competition. And we're so proud of James. James came in third place in the national competition.
Wow.
And hats off to James. Jim have something to say? Or?
Here it comes.
Chairman and Commissioners, as you recall, when we amended the county personnel ordinance, one of the things that you wanted us to do is to develop structure for how do we recognize those employees who take those extra steps that improve services to citizens, save money, increase program efficiency, and these are our first two recipients. And as a part of that personnel ordinance, we committed that recognition of those employees would be public and certainly within the scope of the departmental budgets, but both these gentlemen will receive their $1,000 performance bonus. So congratulations to both of them.
Guys.
What great first weekend.
Great job, gentlemen. Thank you for your great work and for being with us this evening. All right, we will now turn to public comment. Before we go into this more, I would like to ask anyone who's with us to please silence your cell phone or place it on mute. For public comment, the time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. Please share your name and where you live. If your time expires, you can leave any question along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on any matters during the public comment period. This is your time to speak to us. And the board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject that's been previously presented to the board during the same meeting. I would also note that on any items on our agenda this evening that we are going to vote on, we will take public comment on those issues when they come up. So if you're here about some item that we're going to vote on this evening, you can speak to us at that time. You can also speak to us during the beginning session, but we don't want you to do both. All right, on that particular topic. All right, who would like to, is there anyone here who would like to address the commission? Yes, ma'am, you may start, and then you'll go next.
Hello, my name is Jamie Frederick. I'm a resident of Buncombe County. I live in Asheville. And I don't know, I have a question. Is the resolution of Buncombe County commitment to strategic and sustainable practices a replacement for the 100% renewable resolution? Is that the same?
That goal is part of the resolution we'll take up
Okay,
later.
so
Yes.
the 100% resolution won't come up again as it was?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, my understanding is that it has been that 100% renewable resolution was kind of wrapped into this new sustainable practices resolution, and so the original resolution that I think Brownie you wrote, I think, had goals in it that we would have 10 years to go 100% renewable for county operations and 25 years for Buncombe County as a whole, which was aggressive and awesome and like really had some momentum to it and some amount of commitment to really doing something. And in the resolution that is on the agenda for discussion this week, that piece gets all of the goal orientation taken out of it and is now one in a list of 6 things. 6 things that are really important and really good for Buncombe County to focus on. But it takes out so much of the meaning of the original resolution that it doesn't do anything anymore. It just is kind of like a list of things that we'd like to see happen someday. And to me, that's really disappointing. I think that you know, there's a lot of reasons that it matters to take real action on going renewable. I mean, that is the future, whether we get dragged there or whether we lead the way. And I mean, in the beautiful place that we live, full of innovative people, going 100% renewable in our county is a possibility. So I hope that, commissioners, that you will consider re-looking at the issue of actually taking real action to push the county to 100% renewable rather than passing a resolution that kind of is a little more, a little weaker, I would say. And just like in closing, there's this image in like cross country like hurdle jumping where if you imagine that the hurdle is an obstacle and you see it as something that you have to get through, you have to avoid, you have to find a way around, you're going to approach it one way. But if you're running towards that hurdle as something that's drawing you forward, as something that like you know that you're going to get forward, get across when you get there, then you're going to approach it a really different way. So I hope that you'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I meant to make one comment earlier when I was reviewing the agenda, because I think your question, other people might have it as well. We did have a work session prior to our commission meeting this evening where we talked about some of the strategic priorities that we're going to discuss later. And so I just want to share that during that pre-meeting, it was brought up that I anticipate that there will be a modification to the priority that you're discussing, such that it will include a specific time frame for the county to achieve the 100% goal for its own operations, as well as establishing a community 100% goal by 2025, which is the same as what was discussed back in October. So I meant to clarify that at the beginning. So we do anticipate those elements will be discussed later this evening as well. Yes, sir, you can go next, and then you may follow.
Thank you very much. My name's Ed Jamron. I want to introduce a company and hopefully a solution and networking with the community, the county, and beyond, and individuals. Our company's Boyle Enterprises, and we're a veteran company, predominantly veterans. There will be some civilians. We're planning on hiring some 200 individuals over the next year. We're producing state-of-the-art solar panels and solar cells. There'll be 24% in about a year, which is about 7% higher than any efficiency in the world right now, at a price point that is very competitive. We're going to be providing housing and education, training, and for production as well as installation around the country of these devices. We're also producing state-of-the-art LED systems as well, controlling devices and the lighting itself. That's up in Mars Hill, North Carolina. We've got a 110,000 square foot facility, and I'd love to be able to communicate with anybody interested in that, but we plan to do very righteous things and be very important in the energy efficiency arena. We have a 4 megawatt solar field we're building, and we can even provide a great deal of third-party power purchase agreement with the county if that was possible, and save you folks an immense amount of money on your energy costs. And if anybody, I don't know if there's some place to put my name, if anybody does respond to this, and I want to make sure we make friends with the community and make this an important business and grow hiring lots of people for our production and installation around the country. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairman Newman and Commissioners. Excuse that I have to do this from prepared statement. My name is Ann Seaman, and I live in Montreat. My 30-year-old son also lived in Montreat until he was killed by opioids in July. I would like to thank Commissioners Fryer and Frost for hosting the recent town halls. They have brought experts with them to share the latest statistics and evidence-based treatment information. This information is vital if we are to reduce the number of bodies arriving at the county coroner's office. As of July, that number averaged 3 per day. I'm here to advocate for medical treatment backed up by scientific results to address this opioid emergency. Stuart was fortunate to live in Buncombe County. I am grateful that our county's Department of Health and Human Services is an efficient and compassionate place for our vulnerable citizens. In addition, the C3-356 Comprehensive Care Center, the Neil Dobbins Detox Center, the Swain Recovery Center, the Julian Keith Alcohol and Drug Abuse Treatment Center, the Minnie Jones Center, and the Dale Fell Center are all vital assets within our community. I know, because I helped my son navigate all of them and others more than once. Stuart had a supportive family, a warm bed, healthy meals. He had a part-time job and enrolled in school, excited for possibilities for a better future.
He was also involved in addiction support groups. With all of this in place, he could not will away this disease, as much as he tried. Stuart was found dead while his 12-step sponsor was waiting steps away for the meetup. Counseling, meditation, and support group meetings, while valuable, they are not enough for those struggling to overcome this chronic brain disease. Beating addiction is not just about willpower or faith. It is also about finding the method and/or medication that works for each individual. I encourage you to continue on the path of providing support services and fact-based medication support to treat opioid addiction, and acknowledge that it is not like other addictions. I do not claim to have the solution, but I do recognize that we have done in the past has not worked. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Thompson, and then the gentleman behind him can go next.
My name is Keith Thompson. I live in Black Mountain. And I wanted to commend all of the commissioners. The way y'all found a way to work together, despite the differences and despite all the tensions that other parts of the country and the world can find to occupy themselves with, to come together and lead off with a vision of young people who care about the future and care about those less fortunate than themselves, and really take the words from Matthew 25 that which you do for the least of these, you did for me. Those types of things, to love thy neighbor as thyself. You guys seem to really get that. I want to thank y'all for that. And this season coming up towards the holidays is a time that we might ought to not only remind ourselves, but set an example that the rest of the world can follow. And Buncombe County's always been a leader in a lot of ways, and energy is one of those ways, because when I was these young people's age, I was interested in energy and the environment and things like that. My children, my son's been in the Coast Guard for 4 years, and I hope he'll be able to come back here one of these days and raise a family and have a job and have clean air and water and have the things that I was able to have and help raise them in. His sister's in electrical engineering program at NC State, studying smart grid and microgrids. That is the future. That is how we can avoid the cost of a $180 million peak power facility down at Lake Julian. $180 million to run just a few hours on just a few days a year to meet that peak load. There's a lot of ways that will create jobs in metalworking, in electrical, in all sorts of design work and things like that. That'd be good jobs for families to be able to make a living and stay here in these mountains and enjoy this kind of community that cares for one another the way you guys do. So please keep it up and keep a vision, because without vision, the people perish. Thank you.
I also just do want to let folks know we will take public comment on the priorities, which includes the energy item later. So if you're planning to stay for that, you can comment then. If you're not staying that long, of course, you can comment now. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm Lisa Baldwin from Fairview. I'm an advocate for children. Today, you're going to vote on moving the public comment period from the beginning of the meeting to the end. This will mean that the hardworking citizens you represent will have to wait 2 to 3 hours to speak in the public comment period after most of the agenda items have been voted on. We are citizens who are taking time away from our families and jobs to express our concerns on important issues affecting our daily lives. We are not paid to be here like county employees or commissioners. I'm respectfully requesting that you consider amending your proposal to add public comment at the beginning and end of your meeting. This would accommodate citizens' busy schedules. For example, Transylvania County Commission already welcomes citizen input at both the beginning and end. And as Commission Chair Newman has been trying to expand public comment on various issues within the agenda, I'd like to see that put in writing as well in the policy. Welcoming public input and the sharing of ideas would be very much appreciated. I would also appreciate an investigation into the significant increase in the number of children removed by DSS in Buncombe from their families. 347 children are in foster care in Buncombe County. At your last meeting, Ms. Tammy Shook of Buncombe's DSS also said that 500 children are receiving adoption assistance funding. As you know, the Adoption and Safe Families Act gives cash incentives to DSS for every child taken from their parents and placed for adoption. This amounts to $4,000 per child, with an additional $2,000 added for special needs children that are taken from their parents and put up for adoption. Please investigate whether DSS is following the mandate to reunify families. Ms. Tammy Shook, DSS
Mr. Chairman,
employee, reported that
Mr.
children
Chairman,
have experienced
Mr. Chairman,
trauma.
I think that
I'm in the
this is
middle
out
of my
of order
comment.
to personally comment about an employee. I think it's out of line.
Ms. Tammy Shook reported at the last meeting that children have experienced trauma just by the nature of being in the foster care system. Ms. Shook also said that over 500 Buncombe children are receiving adoption assistance funding. These adoption subsidies amounted to $57,000 for October 2017 and $800,000 for the fiscal year. There are also payments from Social Security and Medicaid. I ask you to please be proactive. Investigate Buncombe's DSS practices. Is the mandate being followed? Are families being reunified? Or are children being sold on the adoption market? Please expand your public comment to the beginning, middle, and end. And when you try to silence someone, Ms. Frost, you simply tell the world that you fear what they might say. Thank you, and I hope you'll all get a copy of the book Legally Kidnapped. This is available on Amazon.com for $9.98, and I would love to give you all a copy, and I will be happy to order that for your Christmas present. Thank you.
I'd like
As a
to.
point of order, may I just, I do think it's important, just because there are a lot of community members tuning in, would direct people to the archive footage of the county manager's report at our last meeting, where there was a very in-depth presentation from Tammy Shook about DSS services in the county, and would just address folks to that as a resource that directly addresses some of the, I think, quite inflammatory and in some cases very inaccurate statements that were made.
And once again, can we clarify who, if people have a complaint, how they are handled? Can we clarify that for one and final time so we have our employees stop being erroneously attacked?
I'll make sure that we get that information, that the state, we are a state supervised.
Ms.
county
Baldwin, your time is up.
system.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Please sit down. All right, thank you. Please sit down.
We are a state supervised county administered system, and we are evaluated continually by the state and evaluated and audited on several of those times. And we'll follow up to make sure to go back to the state, to ask the state to come and evaluate us again to make sure that we're in compliance with our adoption policies and our foster care policies, so that we can make sure that the state has the final say, and to let the public know whether or not we are in fact in compliance.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Damian Riley. I live in Leicester, North Carolina. I'm from Buncombe County. I was living in Barnardsville, and my house got infested with mold. The landlord was quite generous and gave us a month's rent back, and we had to stay in a hotel, but I have 3 kids and a wife, a family of 5, and not enough budget for 2 hotel rooms. My wife and my 2 children went to stay in one hotel room, and I went with my other child to the Leicester Elementary School to speak with the social worker about some kind of resources or help that could have helped us maybe get a place to live or just stay temporarily till we found another home that wasn't mold infested. They called a lot of places, and they said there's no help for men, that there's all kinds of resources for women, but because I was a man seeking help, they wouldn't have help for me. She advised me to try with the social services, DSS, and I did so, and I went down to apply for some kind of emergency services, and they again told me that those wouldn't be extended to me, that men should be working, and that my wife should be at home with the kids, and there's no reason we shouldn't have a home. They gave me 3 days to rectify my situation, or they were taking my child. There was no complaints against me whatsoever. So they had to formulate one, and they said that the social worker of the Leicester Elementary School claimed that I walked into the school threatening to murder my child. So they came in 3 days later to take that child, but they left me with my other two, who I have raised for 2 years now since this incident began. There was no issue with my other two children, and there was no complaint made whatsoever. Thank you.
All right, who's next? Anyone else? Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is review of the consent agenda. Commissioners asked for some additional information on a couple of items. The jail and body scanner item, and the cash versus finance item in the Inca library. So who, Ms. Stone, who could address each of those items for us? So we've got Sheriff Van Duncan with us, so come on up, sir. Thank you. And for clarification, Commissioner Frost, I think you asked for this item. Are you looking for a separate vote on this item, or just some additional information, or what was your?
It might, it's, so more information, and then also to change how the full body scanners get funded.
Okay, the body scanner is an item that we have come to discover that we need pretty desperately in the jail. Since we amended our policy several weeks ago, in the past 10 days, we've taken 7 people to Mission Hospital that have either swallowed some sort of narcotic coming into the jail, or the one that was one of the most concerning, swallowed a narcotic after they got into the jail. And you say, well, how can that happen? And what's happening is these folks are secreting these things in body cavities and bringing them into the jail. The one individual that we ended up taking to the hospital, she actually, for fear of being charged with bringing a controlled substance into the detention facility, which is a felony, ate some what we believe to be methamphetamine after she was already in the facility. We have something in the facility called a boss chair, but it's really a metal scanner. It doesn't work for a controlled substance that might be packaged and put into a body cavity. So what this scanner is designed to do is, once we move that individual through booking them, we take them to housing, is that scanner will be able to tell us, hopefully, if they have something coming into the facility. Like I say, it creates a situation within the detention center that's not only concerning for the person who's bringing it in, but also because of the detox protocols we're doing and the level of addiction that we're dealing with in the detention center. It's also a public safety hazard for the people who are there being held pretrial.
And I'm all for it. I would just like it to be paid for through, Mandy, is there a different way it can be paid for?
I think your other option would be general fund.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I just would like it not to come from the inmate welfare fund.
And we have met about the inmate welfare fund, and the commissioners, I think, have a pretty good grasp of what that is and what that does and how it's generated. And this definitely falls in line with what that money should be designed to be spent for, because it improves the overall safety inside the detention facility. And there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500,000 in that fund right now, and this scanner's 180 and some change. So rather than burdening the commission to find that in general fund, that's something that's accessible, that the sheriff can make that recommendation to you, and I would recommend that you pay for out of that fund where it fits. Any other questions?
May I ask one more question?
Sure.
Out of your forfeiture money, not just this fund, but forfeiture money, do you have anything there that you could utilize, Vane?
There is forfeiture money there, but it doesn't fall under the federal spending guidelines. I'd really have to go in and check. It's kind of out of, it is for new programming and things that help us deal with drug issues in the community. So I don't know, to be honest with you. My financial person's here. I thought you were here, but you're over here. I don't know. I'd have to have Sherry Powers check and look at the spending guidelines for federal forfeiture and see if it would fit. I would tell you that as far as the discretionary money that we have within the sheriff's office with these two accounts, it is really better, in my opinion, to bring it because it benefits directly the detention center out of inmate welfare, inmate commissary funds.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's go ahead and just vote on this item and get this one resolved.
I'll make a motion to approve.
As presented in the staff report?
As presented in the staff report.
All right. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'd like to amend the motion to.
Let's see if there's a second to the
okay.
motion first.
A second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve as presented.
I'd like to amend the motion to approve it, but using money from the general fund to pay for the body scanner, because I think it is a piece of equipment, and as we would pay for other things that are service in the jail.
Okay, there's a motion to amend to appropriate the funds from the general fund rather than from the inmate commissary fund. Is there a second to the proposed amendment?
Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, that'd be up to Commissioner Belcher and then Commissioner Presley to accept that amendment.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was assuming that you wanted it from the general fund. So if you accept this as a friendly amendment, it would just be, we could just incorporate it into the motion. If not, we can vote on the proposed amendment if there's a second to the motion to amend.
You have to proceed with the motion on the floor first, which is from Commissioner Belcher.
So they have
I think
to.
we can vote, we address the amendment before proceeding with the original motion, is my understanding.
So I would want to go ahead and proceed with the motion that I made.
Okay.
And vote on it and then go ahead and have a separate one done, I guess.
Is there a second? I'm going to rule that that this is an amendment that can be considered, but we need to see if there's a second to the proposed amendment.
I second the proposed amendment.
Okay. Discussion.
Okay, actually, there's a motion on the floor and a second. I think you have to vote on it.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to rule. You made a motion to approve this item. There's a motion to amend it to appropriate the funds from the general fund rather than the other proposed fund. So let's vote on that. All in favor of the yes?
I'd like to get clarification procedurally. I think we have to address the amendment before we move back to the original motion.
That's what we're doing.
Is that what you
That's what
okay,
we're doing.
my
We're voting
apologies.
on the amendment.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So what are we voting on now?
We're voting on your amendment.
Okay.
Okay. We're voting on the amendment to shift the appropriation to the general fund. All in favor, if you support funding out of the general fund, vote yes. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, the motion to amend fails. We are now back to the original motion.
Okay, I make a motion to.
You've already got it. We've already got it taken care of. Your motion's still live, all right?
Wow.
So.
You're making it real easy on me. here.
Okay,
Thank you.
so there's a motion to approve as presented in the staff report, and the motion's been seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, the next item that was, we requested some additional information on is the cash versus finance item.
Yes, Chairman and Commissioners, there's 4 projects that we had in our capital projects fund that we had anticipated where the funding source was future borrowing, but we have some one-time savings that we can use to repurpose so we can pay cash for those versus finance. And over the life of the debt, that saves us almost $1.5 million in interest costs. So this budget amendment really just flips the financing source from debt proceeds to cash from one-time savings in our capital projects fund.
Okay. And I can't remember Commissioner Frost, was this your item too? Did you want to vote on this separately, or did you just want a little more information
More
on
information.
it? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
just more information.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I brought that up too, and I just wanted to make sure that in the regular session that the public understood that this was the way we do business now. Is if there are savings, we're looking to pay off debt, and we're not looking to add additional debt. This is not going to be a first-time thing. That this is an ongoing, focus. And you said that saved how much?
Almost $1.5 million over the lifetime of the debt we would have borrowed.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'll just make a comment on this item. I'm supportive of it, but I would also just as kind of a on the topic, the county is able to access, one of the benefits of the county's AAA bond rating is that we're able to access a debt at, incredibly low rates. And so for a lot of these long-term capital projects, I think we've been really successful in using very low-cost financing to do that. And in a lot of cases, it's a really appropriate way to do it too. So, but I think this is a great opportunity to just pay these items off. So I'm for it as well.
Let me put on my banker's hat here. I'd like to comment. I'm for paying for these now because, folks, we must realize when we float a 20-year bond, we're paying for this. So even though the interest rate might seem to be low, we're paying for this over a 20-year period, and it will cost us more money. So anytime we can pay for like these items up front, it's a big savings to us as taxpayers. So I'm for doing that anytime.
May I put one issue into this? Previous county manager took $2,200,000 that was basically money that was for the firing range. She bought ambulances, 10 vehicles, 3 more vehicles for the animal control. It come to $2.2 million on a bond. Take a while, guess how much that cost us just in interest alone for 18 years. $950,000. So the bond's not the true way to go. I think county manager we have now has got the best idea to pay as we go, as we can.
All right. And then the last item is the Inca Library renovations funding. And so we have on our agenda $300,000 proposed funding for renovations to the Inca Library, which includes renovation of existing space owned by the county to create additional community space and library space. So, Diane, do you want to share any additional information?
Sure,
on
I
this
would just
for us?
say we combed through all of our capital projects to see which ones were completed. And as you can see on this budget amendment, there were 7 different projects that were ready to close, and it had savings of the $300,000 needed to budget this project. So again, we can use savings to cover the cost.
Yeah, and again, I brought that forward because I wanted the public, I wanted the people in Inca Candler to know that their library is going to be completed. And I want to thank Commissioner Presley and Chairman Newman and others for going out and walking that, looking at some of the design. And I was glad to see that we were able to find savings to cover that and move that up and get it done in a practical way. So I just want to thank everybody for that and make sure the public was informed in the regular session on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm really excited about it too. Oh, and Commissioner Presley, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Also, I'd like to thank Commissioner Belcher and Chairman Newman for when we went out there and looked at that. This is a big necessity, but one thing don't forget is we're even looking at the energy deal on that of replacing the windows there. The windows in that place was very, very old, and we all come together, and this is very good that we can pay for this right now.
Absolutely, and I was just going to comment, there's been a lot of focus on the East Asheville Library project, which is going to be a new library that we're going to be building starting later this year. We're going to appropriate the funding for it in this year's budget. That's a much more expensive project, probably more like $3 million plus instead of this one's $300,000. But this is property the county already owns, so I'm glad to see that we can just move ahead on making that more useful to that part of our community. So great project. All right, is there a motion to approve all the remaining items on the consent agenda and follow the remainder of the agenda as we discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda, we've taken care of good news. So we have a rezoning request for the Muse Kirkpatrick application, and Debbie Trumpy will explain the item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Troy Muse and Robbie Kirkpatrick have applied to rezone 5.97 acres located at 62 Old US 1923 Highway from commercial service to residential district R3. The subject property is currently vacant. Property to the north of the subject parcel has been used as a firewood business and is zoned CS. Of the two properties to the west, one is vacant and the other contains a single-family residence, and both are zoned CS. Property to the south, separated by Old US 1923, is developed as a manufactured home park and is zoned R3. The property to the east contains a manufactured home and is zoned CS. The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject parcel in order to develop a manufactured home park. The Planning Department recommends approval of the requested zoning as it is consistent with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The 2013 update identifies infill higher density development as suggested within reasonable proximity to major transportation corridors and highly suggested within water and sewer service areas, outside of steep slope areas, outside of high elevations, outside of moderate and high hazard slope stability areas, and outside FEMA flood hazard areas. The Planning Board held a public hearing regarding this application on November the 6th. There was no public comment. The Planning Board found that the request is consistent with the land use plan and is reasonable and in the public interest, as it is compatible with surrounding properties developed with manufactured home parks, is adjacent to other R3 zoned properties, is served by public water and sewer, and is readily accessed by an NCDOT maintained road and transportation corridor. The Planning Board recommended approval of the rezoning by a vote of 7-0. And I'll take any questions you have for me at this time.
Any initial questions? All right, let's open the public hearing on this. I will open the public hearing at 6:01. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on the proposed rezoning? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:02, and we need a motion. Would someone like to make a motion on the proposed rezoning?
I'll make a motion to, and I always forget the words, to approve the recommendation because it is based on
Reasonable and in the public interest.
reasonable to public interest. I feel like a ventriloquist.
And consistent with the
And
land
are
use.
consistent with our land use plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And do we need a second vote on this item? Or do we just need to?
Just the one.
That takes care of it? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we also have a public hearing on the voluntary shared leave program under the county personnel ordinance. And Lisa Eby
Thank you,
will
Commissioners.
lead this discussion.
Thank you. This is very short. You'll see, I think it's best summarized in the second to last whereas an employee losing time from work due to a compensable work injury is entitled to receive compensation for lost wages as well as any impairment rating through workers' comp. Therefore, those workers receiving a workers' comp claim are being compensated for their lost time and should not also be eligible to receive the benefit of shared leave from fellow employees. So the way that the voluntary shared leave program was written the policy was written prior to this, left the opening that they could potentially receive both the workers' comp as well as donated leave from their fellow employees, and we're just tightening that up so that if they have a compensable workman's comp claim, they are not eligible for the voluntary shared leave program. That's it. Any questions I can answer? And just a reminder, this seems small, but it's just another one of our commitments to make sure that when we're changing the personnel ordinance, that we're doing it in a public setting and in a way that allows people to know exactly what we're doing.
Lisa, that actually covers the person that wants to give their time to that person, too.
Exactly.
So that way they keep their time, plus the person's got his workman's comp anyway, so.
Correct.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
All right, thank you. We will take public comment on this. And we need to hold an official hearing on this, or just regular public comment?
Public hearing.
Okay, all right. I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:04 p.m. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? Mr. Yelton?
I have a simple way of looking at things. I think what I heard you say is they can't double dip, but employees can give shared time if they want to someone, because that doesn't keep them. If someone is under the weather or has a bad situation, they've got some time built up, they can donate to that person. That doesn't stop that. That's what I thought. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:05. Is there a motion? I will make a motion to support the proposed resolution on the personnel ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we now come to the county manager's report, and the first item is about small farms in Buncombe County, and Megan Baker from the Small Farms Extension Agent is here to give us a short update. Thanks for being with us.
Well, good evening, Chairman Newman, commissioners, and guests. My name is Megan Baker, and I serve in an educational and technical support position as the Small Farms Agent here in Buncombe County. I work for the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, and my position is funded through that agency, as well as Buncombe County and the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service and NC State University. Let's see if this is going to work. How do I advance? I'm hitting, oh, there we go. Thank you. Got it. So I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit of an overview about what I do here in the county and to give you some visual images of the farms that I work with. I first want to just thank the Buncombe County leadership for supporting small farms. They have so many needs, and without funding this position, many of those needs would go unmet. So thank you for your support. With farms ranging from a quarter acre to over 150 acres in our county, commercial operations are extremely diverse. The images that you see there showcase some of the variety of crops that people grow in our county. I work with farmers that are growing everything from mushrooms to fruits and vegetables, experimental crops like ginger and industrial hemp, and medicinal herbs and culinary herbs. Many of the clients that I work with are beginning farmers, and they're drawn to this area because of the support of the local food movement and local farms in our area. And in recent years, we've seen a trend of people coming to our area in hopes of starting a second career as farmers. We have a community, as we know, that celebrates local farms, and so we have lots of potential markets through that support. We have direct and retail sales, we have CSAs, tailgate markets, and wholesale markets, which we do continue to see a lot of improved room for growth in those wholesale markets. One of my primary tasks is to support farmers in navigating new markets and providing them with one-on-one site consultation, educational workshops, and grower outreach. Successful farm businesses have to holistically plan for financial stability. And so I help farmers gauge appropriate crops that suit their skill sets and their markets and their land. I also help them develop business plans, learn technical production aspects, such as solving pest problems like you see in the image there, and connect them to other community resources. So far this year, over 750 farmers have participated in our small farms events and workshops, and we've reached an additional 9,400 through other outreach methods. This next slide, if I can advance it, that would be wonderful. Oh, that makes a difference. Thank you. Okay, now we're on board. The photos that you see here highlight Buncombe County farms that have been successful in securing grant funds. Small farmers have minimal financial options when they're looking for expansion projects. Since my tenure here in the small farms position, I've helped growers secure over $57,000 in grant funds through the Western North Carolina Ag Options Program. These grants have helped our small farms expand to new crops, improve efficiency, and build essential infrastructure like storage and cooling rooms. Additionally, through a grant secured from the TVA Ag and Forestry Fund, Buncombe County farmers have access to 2 pieces of equipment that you see pictured above you. And those pieces of equipment help reduce labor demands, improving efficiency, and helping them prep their fields. For a nominal cost, growers can rent this equipment, saving them from having to individually purchase these implements and enabling them to keep their profits for other farm needs. This equipment has helped over 16 farms maximize efficiency while reducing financial risk. In addition to these efforts, I collaborate with fellow cooperative extension staff to raise agricultural awareness to Buncombe County youth. We do this annually in celebrating National Ag Day, which happens in March. In 2017, our staff reached over 1,500 kids in Buncombe County, helping them understand the important role farms play in their daily lives. An additional focus of mine is working on pollinator conservation. I collaborate with the Buncombe County beekeepers and Bee City USA to provide educational outreach so that no conversation that involves farming overlooks these important ecological pieces. As a final comment, because I know our time is tight tonight, I would invite all of you to learn more about agriculture in our county by considering attending our Friends of Ag Breakfast, which is a quarterly event that Cooperative Extension and Soil and Water collaborate on. We hold that at the Western North Carolina Ag Center, and I know many of you have been in attendance in the past. We would love to see you in 2018 as we have new programs. And I just want to thank you again for your support for small farms. They have a hard road ahead in many ways, and so it's really nice to be able to know that county government and county leaders support them in this position. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions?
Okay, thank you for
Don't
your
see any.
time.
Hey, thanks for what you do, and thanks for the great update. Small farms are such an important part of the character of Buncombe County, and people really care a lot about them, even if they're not involved in farming themselves. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, the next item. Oh, and the food at the breakfast is always really awesome. So it's another reason to go. All right, Mandy Stone will explain the county personnel reorganization and some structure changes.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I think Max is going to pull up a PowerPoint. I'm just going to walk through this quickly. What I bring to you tonight is a budget-neutral proposal for addressing a 1.5 increase to pay our lowest paid employees. We struggled for all day today on the way to frame this because I always also want to say I believe these are some of our most valuable employees. They really are the people who are the boots on the ground doing the work every day in our community. If you look at the budget ordinance for FY16 2017 in section 22, the board approved a total of a 3.5% increase. 2% of that was to go to all employees and 1.5% of that to be awarded at the discretion of the county manager. As I look back both on public meetings and media comments and coverage, and that both the Board of Commissioners and the former manager, Wanda Green, were clear that the intent of these this raise was that it go to those lower paid employees. That was the board intent. That's very clear when you look back at tapes and when you review that in the media. What we know is that the 1.5 went to a variety of employees. Not all of them are lower paid employees. So my intent tonight is to honor your direction to me and set right a past action that didn't honor the intent of this board. I want to be clear that what I bring to you tonight, and the reason it's not under new business, is within the scope of my authority as county manager, and that it's budget neutral, and it's an action that I consider you to have already approved in the 16-17 budget ordinance. The median household income in Buncombe County, according to the 2016 census data, is a little over $45,000. It will cost $341,095 to provide a 1.5% increase to county employees making at or under $45,000. That's 472 of our 1,428 employees. It includes administrative assistants, court security, bailiffs, landfill employees, mechanics, administrative assistants, library assistants, and CNAs. Very important individuals who show up every day and serve our community with skill and compassion. The plan to offset this cost is by reoccurring savings by salary adjustments at the highest end of the organization. I'd like to say that I bring you this recommendation on behalf of my senior leadership team, and that the changes we bring that achieve the reoccurring savings to pay for this reoccurring cost all address employees who make at or above $120,000. It eliminates the dual roles, including the part-time assistant county managers, as well as the dual roles that were assigned to other department heads with supplemental salary. Those were eliminated actually July 1st. It consolidates some functions across department directors and eliminates positions, very limited number of positions due to retirements or realignments, or because the position was specific to a major construction project that is ended. I want to make clear we are adjusting the lowest paid employee salaries to adjustments at the senior level. These changes pay in full for the total reoccurring cost for the 1.5% increase. There's no additional impact to taxpayers. It's budget neutral. Also want to make the point that you've instructed us to go forward and actually approve the funding for the salary study tonight. That guidance will allow us to set equitable and competitive salaries, attract strong professionals, retain a robust professional workforce, make sure we're able to recruit and retain the best employees, keep our turnover rates low, and ensure continuity of quality services. Also will ensure our salaries are equitable at all levels of the organization, and it'll address any unique factors specific to the Buncombe County workforce. I do want to make the point that in addition to the savings that I bring you tonight on behalf of senior leadership to cover the cost of that 1.5% salary adjustment, that since July 1st, between your actions and the actions of the county manager and senior leadership, $828,760 in recurring savings from the senior leadership level. That includes your negotiation with me for a salary that is average among the county urban counties, the state urban counties, which was a wage reduction of $31,543. What you approved previously that I brought to you, which was a 29% reduction in the county manager's operating budget, which is almost $52,000. Elimination of the 3 assistant county managers and any dual role supplements, and changes being made at upper management. So I bring that to you not as an action item, but as an update. I want to remind you and remind the citizens of Buncombe County about the individuals who show up every day and do work that impacts our community, our children, our families, our schools, our restaurants, our environment. They deal with our trash, our immunizations, making sure we have safe buildings and safe food. They're some of the most skilled and dedicated individuals I've ever had the honor to work with. And I will tell you that as hard as I've advocated with senior leadership for these changes at the top, I'll advocate to protect our workforce, these individuals whose pictures you just saw. And thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I want to say thank you, and what an extraordinary amount of work and sacrifice by some, and your last words about honoring those employees. In the last few months, Buncombe County employees have been, for lack of a better word, dragged through the mud, and through no actions that they did. And I don't care, people can drag commissioners through the mud all they want, but the employees are our backbone, and they come to work tirelessly. They don't care about political parties, and this is something that was promised to them a long, long time ago. So thank you for correcting it in such a efficient way.
Employees will receive notice from commissioners tomorrow that the 1.5 is effective on December 9th, their next pay period, and they'll also all individually receive a one-time payment of $500, those individual employees, because we're unable to go back retroactively, and you clearly intended this adjustment to be effective July 1st. Thank you.
Ms. Stone,
Thank you.
all I can say is thank you. What the people were told they were getting, they're finally getting it. It took a long ways to get there, but I'm so proud that we're at this day. As I say, keep saying, it's a new day in Buncombe County. So, thank you again.
Yeah, I want to comment too. It's a good time. It's a good time of the year to be doing this for families at any time. It's a really good time of the year for them to be receiving this. I mean, that thought just came to my mind. And also the thought came to my mind that, and you'll hear this from these commissioners, tonight, there'll be things we will disagree on tonight. We disagree on a lot of things. But I am very pleased with this board in its entirety, and the relationship and their thought process in moving forward and trying to make sure that the county employees are taken care of and the taxpayers are taken care of too. And there will be this is not a one-time occurrence. It's not a one-time occurrence of doing the right thing, and so I appreciate it. And but I just wanted to, we can still do the right thing, but disagree on some of the things between us. But I'm really pleased with the board and what I've seen, and so far, and what I expect to see this year.
Mandy, I'd like to add and thank you too for what you're doing to protect our employees. Because what we're going through now, let's face it, those of us who were elected up here, that's what we're elected to sometimes, be dragged through the weeds, because that goes with the turf. But our employees, from what they are going through, feeling ashamed, and for actions that were not there, they had nothing to do with, I commend you, because this is what we need to help with morale. I mean, this is not the time to knock our employees down, but it's the time to pick them up and support them, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.
I'll just chime in, and also it's nice to have the opportunity to say thank you to folks. Folks who work for the county are really incredible people. I'd known that for a long time as a community member, and I get to have a additional vantage point right now. You know, the county runs 24/7 every day of the year, one department or another. This is a tangible way to say thank you, but also an opportunity to just express gratitude and respect. And you said it, I think, better than any of us could, Mandy, about the honor of getting to work with folks and serving our community. And thank you to you and your team for finding, I think, a great solution to rectify this.
Mr.
Just, might just stay up there a bit longer.
You're going to stay? I just want to thank you and your staff and these 472 employees well deserve something that should have been in the past and was somehow manipulated around. And I am very proud of what Commissioner Belcher said about I'm proud of this board here. Sometimes we do not agree on everything, a lot of times, but we can talk through it and make the right decisions sometimes. We're not perfect, but this was a perfect thing to do right here for these employees that are the glue that's holding this county together. And I thank you and your staff for this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for these really positive update. All right, next item is a resolution appointing the Library Board of Trustees for the Asheville Buncombe Library System, and Jim Holland will present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Since July 1, I've had the privilege of working with the Asheville Buncombe Library System under the direction of Gigi Francis. And one of the things I've really come to appreciate has been and understand the commitment and the passion of the people for their libraries. And I would say their libraries because we exist and our libraries exist for the people. And we have a very strong community presence in working with libraries. We have, in each of our branches, they have a very active and vibrant Friends of the Library who raise money, support programs, and provide substantial support to the citizens of the county through the use of these libraries. And in this process, as we go back through, one of the things that we found is when we look to see how is the community being represented to the library. Well, with the dissolution of the CRA, the Culture and Recreation Authority, and the oversight, the trustees are no longer exist. So this resolution is asking to reinstate the trustees, a board of trustees specifically for the library. And in going through that, the North Carolina General Statutes provides a list of responsibilities that can be assigned to this board. And out of those 8 responsibilities that can be assigned, we are asking you to assign 5 of those. And the reason that we didn't include the other 3 was that they are mainly geared towards both as the appointing authority for a library director, or they are budgetary in nature for a library board that would have access to specific funding that they would be able to then designate for specific purposes. The library as a county department functions under the office of the county manager. And so those particular functions are not applicable under the structure that we have in our county. Some other counties, those are applicable. We're asking you to, in this resolution, to appoint a 5-member board. And in that 5-member board, it would require that 1 member be from at least each of the commission districts with 2 at-large members. That 5-member board would then be able to advise the library director, this board, the county management, in terms of helping to develop the budget, establishing funds and policies related to the collection of monies for the library, and to be a general advisory group, not only to you as commissioners, but also to the community, and also be a conduit from the community to be able to help inform what happens in our library. We found through this process that the citizens want to be involved and deserve to be involved, and by reestablishing this library board of trustees, we believe that that will provide a formalized mechanism to do that. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Terrific. Any questions?
We had a library board, right, before?
Yeah.
We did have a library board. When the Culture and Recreation Authority was established, they became the board.
Right.
And then when the Culture and Recreation Authority disbanded, there was nothing, the library board was not reestablished.
So from memory, Commissioner Frost and myself served on the
Yes.
CRA board, and that was, wow, 5 years ago, I guess, but there, we actually there was somebody from the library was appointed to that board just to make sure the influence was there.
Eleanor.
Yeah, right.
She was great.
And at that time, the library board was done away with, so. And it had 5 back then, so we're doing the same thing we did before.
The previous Library Board of Trustees was much larger, but this one, we're recommending 5 members.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. Do we vote on this?
Yep.
We will.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on the issue? I'll start with Mr. Yelton, and then you may follow him. Mr. Yelton first, and then you will go second. Thank you.
He's grinning and I'm grinning. I bet I don't have to make my comment, do I? Probably not. I don't. Okay, I won't, because we need to find out about the electronics and all that other. Yes, we are. And we've got to do that before we can be able to run them. Thank you very much. Those of you that are wondering out there, don't worry about it. That's what happens when you come all the time. When you stay and see what happens.
All right. We have no idea what just happened, but it's okay. Nothing.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Weatherall, and I am a retired librarian and active with the Friends of the Libraries here and an active patron of our library system here. And I would like to commend and thank Jim Holland for presenting this resolution. I'm all for it. I think we've needed a board of trustees for some time for all the reasons that Jim pointed out. The library system, I think, has been something of a neglected and entity and has suffered from not having a board of trustees, even though we have a very active Friends group and they do just wonderful labor to raise money and support programs for the library. But we need a broad spectrum from the community to do promotion, advocating for the library. So much more could be done. And libraries are facing a real challenge in modern times. We need to face some of these challenges and what is the future of libraries in our community. And my only suggestion would be, I strongly suggest that we have more than 5 members. So in the past, there have been 10 members, including the library director, which I think is a good idea to have on the board. So I strongly hope that the commissioners will support having more than just 5 members on the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else on this item? All right. We have a motion and a second to support the resolution. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say everything that you just said about libraries, I'd like to apply to parks as well, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree. I concur. So I, just to comment about the libraries and the Friends for the Library and all those that work, I just want to challenge you to use this as an opportunity to engage your volunteers. We're expanding a library. We're building a new library to be able to get the communities involved. This is a great opportunity and a great springboard for you to be able to do that in Buncombe County. So I just encourage you to continue the good work and step it up a notch, because there's some changes going to be made. The library is going to be very positive, so we're excited about it.
I'd like to point out that the speaker made a good point. Do we want to go with just 5 people? As large as the library system is, do we need more representatives from, the different areas on it? I don't know. Why did we come up with just 5?
We based that number on previous boards that we've had within the county that have been 5 and across the state.
Okay.
And we also wanted to make sure that we said specifically that we had a representative from each commission district and plus 2 additional ones that were at large. That was the reasoning behind
Thank
that.
you. You've answered my question.
How many libraries do we have again?
I'm going to say 11.
that right? 11?
You see 11? Yeah.
11?
That was good. And just to follow up on Mr. Yelton, Mr. Yelton has brought up a very good point before about making sure that we know how much a branch or how much a library costs. And that's a very reasonable and absolutely legitimate point. And we are developing a system to be able to know exactly how much each branch costs us to operate. So we'll be providing that as well to you.
So I would assume with our dashboards that we're doing that information ultimately would be
out there.
very accessible to the public to be able to go to a particular library and see how much it costs to operate that library and and so on and so forth.
We will do that. We don't have that ready now.
I know,
but we're
I know.
working to do that for the beginning of the fiscal year.
I know we don't. Mr. Yelton can only handle so much excitement in one night, so we just pace ourselves.
All right, if there's no other comments, let's vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Holland. Next item is a resolution amending the rules and procedures for the Board of Commissioners, and Mike Frew will present this item.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just a few items that various commissioners have brought up over the past month or so just to tweak the rules of the board. One is just to make clear in the rules that the meetings are now starting at 5 o'clock. Second idea is to say that the county manager is chief administrator in cooperation with the board. It currently says in cooperation with the chairman. And there's been some input to make that with the board, and that's generally how it has transpired in the past. The third item on the agenda, items of business, would be to move the consent agenda. It's not currently listed as an item on the agenda, but always the practice was to make that the second item, just to put that formally as number 2. Third would be to move public comment to after new business near the end of the meeting. And the last item, just to direct the board to indicate as such on every regular meeting agenda. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions you have or facilitate discussion, but this is the board's rules, so however you want to proceed with that.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion on this item from any commissioner?
So I'd like to clarify something. So we currently do public comment in the beginning, and then we do public comment for every action that we take. So this would mean we would continue to take public comment on every action we take as we go along, which seems to be very fair and current. And then for things that citizens didn't feel get covered could be at the end.
That's right. So, we are not legally required to do that. I think legally we're only required to have public comment like one meeting a month.
That's
but of
the
course,
only legal requirement. You're exactly correct.
That's just the state minimum. But so this would move the general public comment to follow new business, but it would continue to be the practice of the commission to take public comment on any substantive issues that are actually going to be voted on by the board at the meeting. So I have gotten, I'm sure probably other people have gotten emails expressing concern that if we move it to the end, to after new business, we'll have already voted on a bunch of items. But any items we're being voted on, we will take public comment on those earlier in the meeting. So if you care about some issue that's actually going to be decided, you will have a chance to comment on that at each meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to for this adoption.
Do you have a comment, Commissioner?
I was waiting to open discussion.
Okay, yeah. Any
Okay.
comments on the motion? Sorry.
I didn't want to get ahead of myself.
Okay. Thank you.
I support every element of this except moving public comment to the end of the meeting or only at the end of the meeting. I think it's important to have some system set up in the earlier part of the evening, at the beginning of the meeting, where community members can come and share their ideas, their concerns, perspectives, experiences that may be timely and relevant in their lives or in the community that they're part of, but that may not show up on the agenda. My concern is, the reason I favor it being at the beginning of the meeting is because that's a relatively predictable time frame for folks, and it's also a really accessible time frame. If we confine that to the end of the meeting, it's sort of a moving target, so very difficult for folks who work evening hours, who have a family at home they need to feed and get to bed, for students who may not have access to transportation. Very difficult for folks to participate and share their perspective. So I think it's great we do public comment related to each new business item, but my concern, and I think we've seen tonight and in many other meetings, that there's really important things happening in the lives of community members, and this is one way and one form for us to hear about them and for the broader community to hear about them, and for some of them to begin to bubble up, to start to shape the conversations we're having at the level of policy. So I would, so that's my position on it. Concretely, I would, and Attorney Frew, I may need, oh, he's gone. Oh, you're there. Sorry. I may need some assistance in formulating this.
Okay.
But I'd like to make a motion that we take some more time to discuss the public comment issue. Just, I've heard a wide range of opinions today as we've been discussing it in the build up to the vote. And I may need some coaching in the best way to formulate that motion.
The way I understand the current board rules is that we've had a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. So unless there's the friendly amendment to allow that, then I think the vote has to go as forward unless. I
think I can make a procedural motion that we take some time to look at this and then bring it back for a vote within a specific period of time, because it's not I think it's not a substantive motion.
That's correct. That's a secondary motion, not a motion in the main. So if you want to send a portion of it to committee, that's not sort of hijacking the vote. That leaves the vote in place.
You would defer it to a date certain. Is that right?
You could.
So is there, so I think the idea is to basically table this item for a while. Is there any other commissioner who would like to support that?
Second.
Okay.
And the reason why is I was thinking along the lines with a lot of the others of doing it at the end, but then when a commissioner brought up about the travel, transportation, us keeping it at a certain time, the kids, school that's going to come, this is probably only something that's affected probably 3 or 4 times a year that really, public comment gets drug on for a long period of time. It's not something every meeting we go to. So I'm going to go with Jasmine and
The only thing I'd like to say is that having been for many years an advocate for many different issues, from billboards to animal welfare, it was very, very hard for a lot of the people that were advocates for specific issues to get here at 5. Conversely, for the opposite reason, they worked. And it excluded them from getting here. I think since the chair has been very generous with public comment for every action, I think it opens that door to do that. But I agree the opposite, in that it's hard for people to get here at 5 that do work.
And I'll have to disagree, because one thing about it is I understand the kids coming in for ball. We bring in here, we give them certificates and stuff. Then they have to sit through 1.5 hours of public speak before we can actually give it to the kids from school. So that takes away from them at the same time. So we need to do our business first as we go along. Any item that we have, there's public speak on it. And then I spoke many times at City Council at the end. I spoke many times at the County Commission at the end. And it does not hurt a thing. But the main thing is we have employees here that if we get through a point, they can physically go to the house. Just like earlier, we let the guys that work at the landfill, we got them done and out of here without having to sit and wait. That way they got to go home. They'll be back at work in the morning. We have people sitting here, the staff sitting here. They'll get up and come back to work early in the morning, where we don't have to as the group we are up here. But the fact is if you have a comment and you really want to bring it forward, you can wait till the end. And I'm still with the end.
And when I really began thinking about this, and we had the opioid presentation, and I don't even know what the bulk of the public comment was, but we had those presenters for the opioid panel, sitting and waiting for an hour and a half to present. And I think that, we ask folks to come in to give presentations, and I think it's hard for them, and we're asking them a lot. And again, we're not cutting off public comment. Under the chair's leadership, he's opened it up and broadened it to a point it's never been before. I mean, we never had this much public comment, so I don't think we're taking anybody's ability away to comment on anything. I think we're making it more expedient, and we're also allowing that great access.
This is partly why I'd advocate for us, at the very least, to just hit the pause button and take a little more time to discuss it. I think we could move good news up earlier in the agenda, and that would address your first concern. I think we could consider more structured guidelines around public comments, or a section of public comments at the beginning and the end. I just think that, as a general rule, but I think especially in this climate, part of our job right now is keeping every single channel open and being as accessible as we possibly can for members of our community to share what their experience is, what their ideas are, what their feedback is, and what their concerns are. And I just have, I know many different people whose lives would not allow them to sit for hours on end on a Tuesday night, but who could carve out an hour to be here to talk about an issue of particular importance. And I think we've seen a lot of people use public comment in exactly that way. So, that's where I continue to land on this, is that I think if we took a little more time for it, we might come up with some more nuanced solutions that allow us to get most of what we all seem to want out of this.
So, and I'm of the opinion that it's okay with me to have it at the front and at the back. So I guess I'm leaning more towards Commissioner Presley and Flora tonight. So I'm okay with it at the beginning, and I'm okay with it at the end. It's fine with me.
We might see a voting alignment here that we have never seen before at this commission. This
is very exciting.
That's right.
So
brace yourselves.
Yeah, that's right. You got to do comment.
We will.
Right?
We will do public comment on
All
this
right.
item. I'll just share my 2 cents though on it. I've seen it done both ways for years and years. On the city council, we had it at the end, and always still had a lot of public comment there. And since I've been here, I think, and it used to be at the end at the county commission, but I think after the group of commissioners that got elected in 2012, we moved it to the beginning. And I think there's pros and cons. I mean, whatever goes first, if you're later on the agenda, you're waiting for that. So somebody's always waiting, and the meetings are going to probably last about as long as they do. It's really just the question of what's the sequence. And so I'm in favor of the proposal to move the general comment to the end, as long as we continue to allow public comment on everything that we're voting on. Because I think my concern is that there are a lot of items that we are actually acting on, making decisions on in meetings. So if I have to choose, like, I want the folks who have come to our meeting to speak on items that we're actually going to make a decision on. I want to kind of prioritize that. So for that reason, I'm for the proposed change. Any other commission comments now? I do want to allow the public a chance to share their thoughts on this as well. All right, let's open it up for public comment. Are there, Mr. Yeldon, you can tee us off on this, and anybody else who would like to comment on this item? All right.
Well, y'all have done a lot of good things. First and foremost, Brownie, you started this mess when you started letting people comment on the items you voted on. And I do appreciate that, because Tom Sobel used to do that all the time. Secondly, you've moved your meetings to where? To 5 o'clock. When did they used to start, Mike? 4 o'clock. If you wanted to get here to the pre-meeting, you had to be here at 4. And you didn't have anybody coming. Yeah, they have to sit here to make their public comment. But you've got this one worded great. One of them is really great. Because, you know, I sent y'all an email and you got it, and I appreciate the response. The county manager, as chief administrative officer, in cooperation with the board. That's the way it should be, folks. Not one, not two, not three, not four, but the board. Because guess what? If any one of you up there's got something that's got burning you real hard and you got to burn your saddle, and you think it's not being presented fairly, what can you do? I think the attorney can correct me, but you can recognize by the chair to get recognized, and then you can speak your piece anytime you want to during the whole meeting. People don't know the procedure, folks. Now, your wording on the other one is a little bit off, Brownie. The wording on that other one needs to say that we will take public comment on any item that we're going to vote on before the vote. Spell it out plain and simple. Then that way, if there's something that's not on the new business, but you want to make a decision on it, what do, Brownie? Don't leave it up to a wording significant items, because that leaves a definition. And the next chairman that comes in may not be you and may not want to take comment on it, so he doesn't consider it significant. And that does restrict the public from speaking. But as long as you do that and take public comment at the end, your meetings will go smoother, better, and the people at the end are serious about what they want to say. And folks, how many people? There's still quite a good crowd left here, and I'm glad to see that. But you know, they come, they speak, and they hit the door. You got a good thing going with moving your meetings to 5. You got a good thing going with the board. Get a good thing going with taking comment on any item you vote on. Move the public comment to end. Now, what drags the meeting out? And I got 19 seconds to make this point, and I'm pretty good at my 3 minutes, because if you do it for 15 years, you get good at it. Bottom line is, if you all quit explaining your votes and just vote, the meeting will go a whole lot faster. We know how most of you are going to vote before you vote.
Maybe.
So, you know.
We get ready to throw you a curve.
I'm not
Thank
sure you do.
All right. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I don't understand you, Don.
If I comment now, can I comment later as well, or is it one?
If you comment on this item, you can only comment on this particular item right now.
Right, but for future
If you want to
items.
comment on another item when it comes up, yes,
Okay.
you can.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to say thank you for actually using the word nuance. I don't really feel like I hear that word or that kind of concept a whole lot in our general political atmosphere. And so using that to describe, like, how can we more effectively enable people to talk about the things that they care about? Wow, that was really great to hear, actually. So I just want to say thank you for giving this issue the kind of time and focus and nuance that it kind of deserves. So thank you.
Right, thank you.
You should come other times. You'll hear a lot of other cool words, too.
All right. Coming back to the board, so there's been a proposal to table this item to future meeting. So let's act on that first. If it is approved, then we will table it. If it fails, then we're going to move to the original motion, which is to approve the item.
Okay, so I'm going to make a correction on the motion. The motion needs to be, you make a motion to move to a date certain, which would be January whatever, January 2nd.
Okay.
To a date certain. So that's the way you'd need to make your motion.
Okay.
May I revise my motion?
That's
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to defer this to the date certain of January 2nd, and allowing us time to have a little bit more discussion as a full board and vote on it that evening.
Second.
all right. So I'm just going to say I'm going to vote against the motion. I think this has been a very good discussion, but it really is. I think we kind of laid the issues on the table, so I'm ready to make a decision, whichever way it turns out. So, any other comments before we vote on the proposal to move it to January 2nd? All right. All in favor of the proposal to move it to January 2nd, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. It fails 4-3. Now back to the original motion to approve the resolution. Has a motion and a second. Any further comment? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, it passes 5-2. Is that correct? Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
Don't you, Robert?
Thank you. Okay. Good times. All right. All right, the county employee inclement weather policy, and Lisa Eby will explain this item.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm coming before you tonight with a policy that outlines county operations during inclement weather. This policy was derived in part based on feedback we got from you all about wanting clarity about what was the policy during inclement weather. And also you made clear to us that you had concerns. You wanted to ensure that there was continuity of operations during inclement weather, as well as take into account that our employees have families, that they have their own safety needs, as well as the fact that oftentimes working families, working parents come to work and schools close abruptly or childcare closes abruptly. And are there ways that we can accommodate our employees while still ensuring continuity of operations for those critical departments when the weather is really bad? We hope that we struck a good balance with this policy. In part, what we were trying to do is make sure that the policy addressed serving, again, that our citizens as needed during bad weather conditions, while also recognizing that our employees have to travel on those roads. If we can responsibly get our employees off roads during bad weather conditions, it also creates less stress on EMS and emergency personnel. It also allows our employees who are trying to clear walkways and make sure that the buildings can be opened safely, allows them to do that work. So that was the intent of this general policy. What we did was outline the different options during inclement weather. We could delay opening, we could close entirely, or we could close early. We also wanted to detail the responsibility of the supervisors as well as the employees during inclement weather conditions for notifications, for also ensuring that supervisors had a plan of operations about what they would do, how they would maintain skeletal staff if necessary. We also wanted to ensure that employees had different ways to take time off, using their annual leave, their PTO, taking leave without pay, and also, when appropriate, working with their supervisors to make up for lost time, and also appropriate, when possible, to allow those workers that could take work home and do work at home, knowing ahead of time the night before that there might be bad weather coming. This policy also reinforces that emergency services are expected to ensure continued operations during inclement weather, and it addresses that in this policy as well. And then it talks lastly about notifying the public and using different various mediums to notify the public, and when possible, doing things like forwarding calls so that staff can answer those calls at home. I'm happy to address any specific questions that you might have on the policy.
Thank you.
Are there notable changes to the policy? I mean,
I think the most notable change is that we really didn't have a formal policy before, so that this is the formal
pretty
policy,
notable.
which we're very glad to have in place. We got a lot of input from management, and so it's gone through several iterations, and we kept hoping that we wouldn't have bad weather before it got in place. So we feel good. We used a number of different policies in different counties, and I went to the SHRM website, and so it's a synthesis of much of that information.
This is going to be a tired phrase probably by the time we get done, but thank you, and this is long overdue.
I do want to do a shout out to Buncombe County Grounds Maintenance. I mean, most people don't understand that when the public schools are closed or when there's an emergency and there's snow, the call that the Buncombe County Grounds Maintenance get is, we don't need you there at 6:30, we need you there at 4 o'clock in the morning to come and clear the grounds and to make sure that you can safely get inside the public buildings, and that is a big deal. And earlier, that 1.5% is going to go to a whole bunch of those folks. That's wonderful. But they do an amazing job, and if you're not aware of that, yeah, you need to be aware of that. Also, they put the lights up out at Lake Julian. If you hadn't been to Lake Julian yet, you need to go see the Festival of Lights. It's pretty cool. So that's my commercial for the Lake Julian lights.
Commissioner Belcher, thank you for recognizing those staff, because they do the work. They show up when everybody else can't show up, and they make sure that the work gets done. So I appreciate you recognizing them.
All right, is there a motion to approve the county employee inclement weather policy?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? All right, bringing it back to the board. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, the last item under new business, although we will then do the vice chair position under new business too, but on the published agenda is the resolution of Buncombe County's commitment to strategic sustainable priorities. We did have a work session immediately preceding this meeting to have some discussion about these items. We don't make any decisions in work sessions, but we did have some discussion about it. There was a request from Commissioner Frost to add some additional language to item B, and so let me just reiterate that, what that is, since I think so everyone knows what that is. So that would be, so that item B would state, implement the best physically and environmentally responsible energy solutions to reach the goal of 100% renewable energy sources for Buncombe County's operations by 2030 and 100% renewable for Buncombe County within 25 years, while helping to educate, equip, and move our community toward practical renewable energy solutions. So that'll be discussed when we get to that item, but I wanted to just make folks aware of that. I think our plan is to just vote on each one of these items when we get to them. So are there any commissioners who would like to make any kind of just initial comments on the overall setting of priorities or anything else?
I would like to, say thank you to Rachel and all of our strategic partners and to our community. We have a lot of people that work tirelessly in the non-for-profit world, volunteer to work on these incredibly tough goals. We heard from a mother whose son died at AB Tech this summer of opiates. We know that 3 people every day are in our morgue from opiates. We have incredible challenges. And for me, honestly, what happened, obviously it's inherent in my blood to be advocating for everything we can do for renewable energy. But what happened, I thought, obviously we can make goals for that. But why can't we make goals so that every child is ready for kindergarten when they go? Why can't we make goals so that everyone has a home to live in? Why can't we put everything possible to end the disease of opiate addiction? So, and goodness sakes, it is 2017. Why can't we do everything in our power to have a diverse workforce? So Rachel brilliantly brought forward everything the county is doing toward reaching all these goals. And we're doing a lot now. And I think itemizing these goals, not one is more important than the other, but showing where our priorities are. This commission as a board, we're dedicated to reaching and satisfying these goals in any event. So I am very grateful to Rachel for organizing all this.
So I've just got a comment. This is not a all-inclusive list of the county's priorities and concerns. And what you're going to find is that some commissioners are more enthusiastic about one than the other. Their position is not necessarily going to be right or wrong. They're going to be more advocates for certain for certain goals. I gravitate towards some, Commissioner Ferrara will, Presley will, and so on. And so I think that's what you're going to find out tonight in the discussion, that we move towards, we advocate for, and so that spreads the energy out. You don't have one or two people working on all the same things. You've got people that have knowledge in those areas, and they're working on those areas.
You made a pun using energy.
Pardon me?
You made a pun using energy.
I did.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Inside joke, guys.
Yeah, just to chime in, I really appreciate the opportunity for us to discuss these and vote on them tonight. And just want to say thank you to county staff and county partners and fellow commissioners for how much folks have engaged on these issues in the past year since I've had the honor to join the commission. One thing that jumps out to me is as you look at these items, I think they are issues that impact individuals and families across every part of our county, and that are in some cases are really about people who are in crisis and struggling day in and day out. And I think what we're doing tonight is really about signaling a new level of focus on the level of policy setting, the level of budgeting and funding, and the level of just generally how we focus and steward county resources to make sure everyone in our community has an opportunity to thrive and that we're taking care of our natural resources as we do that. So I'm really excited about the conversation we're about to have.
What I think is good about these goals are when you look at them, they all come back to one central location, so to speak, to make this the best possible community we can be to live in. And that's what we are doing with these goals. You know, we know where we've been, but it's important to know where we are going. And two, as we plan how we're going to get there. Sure, these are 6, these are good goals. It's 6, and a lot would say, hey, it's a lot of heavy lifting here. But if you look at them, one supports the other. I think they all tie in to making our community the best place it can be. And we need to look at these goals going forward in everything we do. And thanks to our staff for doing a good job of guiding us in the right direction. Because in looking at these goals, it's important when we look at taxpayers' dollars that we spend our money where it should be spent. And I don't see anything here that we've laid out in any of these goals that we should not support, because it's important to the well-being of Buncombe County.
Very well. I've not really been criticized, but I have of some of the things that's on here. These 6 things are very, very important to me. In some of the presentations that's been brought to me, I am not for is a way sometimes it has been orchestrated of putting words in other people's mouths. So I've got a slide here. I just wanted to let everyone see that this started in 1991 of when I started this. And this is one of 8 series that I've done up till 1998. And I was a young man then. I inherited my love of racing from my dad. Also inherited this. You see, for over 100 years, our national forests have been handed down from one generation to the next. We've got to take care of these last wild places because someday we'll be passing them down to our children. Call toll-free 1-888-8-FOREST to find out what you can do. The unspoiled beauty of our national forest. Let's pass it down.
Very nice.
So I support 100% on everything we're looking at. And I think it's time, instead of just emailing, that we all start doing something instead of talking about it, like these kids up here. I'd like to see everyone that's going to be up here commenting on anything tonight to be out here helping tape up windows, registered ducts. If you know what a registered duct is, it's a thing where your heat and air comes from in a house. We need to take care of the people that are going to be cold this winter. And remember, they have to make a decision. Is it going to be food, medicine, or heat that they're going to have to survive during this winter? Let's put our priorities right.
All right.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Mr. Barr, go ahead.
I appreciate what Mr. Presley put up. We've all thought of the same things over the years. I remember many years ago in 1973, you got things called innovation. Now we got solar, which works toward different things. But I remember Mario Andretti, I was in racing, 1973. He had a digital watch. It cost $150. Wow, that was something. 2 years later, I bought a digital watch from Timex, and it cost $13. So things go down in the process, you know. But I want to get to where we can get to. 100%, I don't see that. I'm sorry, everybody. I got 248 emails here. All of them say the same thing, copy and paste, copy and paste. That does not help. We got young people back here, Mr. Presley's right. I think if these young people got out and helped in the environment that Ms. Frost basically brings forward, true, you know, let's insulate people's homes, just like the group is up here. You had Asheville High kids and stuff, or Asheville School kids up here that are actually going out and doing this work. That's where you're going to get your reduction. It may not be 100%, but you have to do what you can do, just like Mr. Presley. We're going to save the trees. We want to save the water. He's got 8 of these things that he's done. So, you know, I'm for everything we got. I'm just not for people telling us that you have to do it and you have to do it today. But you got to tell us how much it's going to cost. And nobody has brought that forward to me at all, period. You know, so I feel comfortable with everything that I'm doing. This board works really good together, and we're going to disagree on certain things. But the fact is I do appreciate everything that this board has tried to do. You know, affordable housing's a tough one. Everything we got is tough, but we'll get there. But 80% is what we was looking for a few years ago. Now we're looking at 100%. Let's try to get to the first goal first before we step up and try to just say we're going to push that issue again, because I'm sorry I can't see it. Thank you.
Okay, let's open it up for public comment on this item. You know, I anticipate after public comment, we're gonna take each of these items and I'll ask a commissioner to make a motion on each one and second it, and then we'll vote on each one. Any members of the public who would like to comment on the resolution of Buncombe County's commitment to strategic sustainable priorities?
Question, Chairman, we're gonna take discussion on everything and then we're gonna vote on them individually? Is that what we're gonna do?
We're going to take discussion on all of it. So if you're interested in any of those items or all of them, now's your chance. And we're going to take public comment once. So I understand that there is a petition from some of the area high schools. And so I think we can probably accomplish this most efficiently by having that presented. So why don't we do, anybody who wants to comment about this, who's related to that, come on up and we'll take all this at once and do that. So technically you each have 3 minutes, but I think it'll go much faster than that.
Hello, my name is Zachary Hudspeth, and I am part of Youth for Environmental Stewardship. We are a local organization comprised of all 9 public high schools in Buncombe County and Asheville City, along with the University of North Carolina, Asheville. Youth for Environmental Stewardship works to improve the environmental efficiency in schools, as well as hosting work days ranging from things such as trail cleanups, river cleanups, and the works. So we are in support of the 100% renewable energy transition, both the 10-year and the 25-year plan, and we have garnered support from over 1,800 students in Buncombe County that also support the 100% renewable energy transition plan.
I'm Sabrina Lang, and this is Cindy Tyson, and we are seniors at TC Robertson, and we have gathered 344 signatures from our school in support of the plan.
My name is Talila Close. I'm a senior at Ace Reynolds High School, and I've acquired 79 signatures in support of the 100%.
Hi, I'm Reese German. I go to North Buncombe High School. This is Bree Reese, and we've got over 104 students to sign.
My name is Layla Fistos. I'm a junior from Anka High School, and I have here 101 signatures from Anka High School and 8 signatures, which are the students you saw earlier with the Energy Savers from Asheville School.
Oh, you got it before they left.
Good organizer, yeah.
Good job. It's awesome.
My name is Adriana, and I'm here from Irwin, and I've gotten 86 signatures.
My name is Harmony Kunst. I'm from Nesbitt Discovery Academy as a sophomore, and I've collected 103 signatures.
My name is Caitlin Rogers, and I'm from Charles D. Owen High School, and I've accumulated 223 signatures from our students and other people in our community.
My name is Elias Varn. I attend SILSA at Asheville High, and I just want to say that every time I asked someone to sign this, they were ready to get a copy of it and take it to all of their homerooms, all of their classes, all of their clubs, all of their sports in support of this bill. And due to the deadline, I don't think I got all the support that I could have. But there are so many young people that are so ready to see the change that we've all been waiting for. And 510 students at Asheville High and SILSA are ready to see that change. Thank you.
My name is Julie Newmark, and this is Nathan Kirshner, and together we represent UNC Asheville, and we collected 258 signatures.
Once again, I would like to reiterate Youth for Environmental Stewardship's support of the transition to 100% renewable energy and the over 1,800 students who also support this. Mr. Chairman, may I bring these to you?
Yes, you can present those to our clerk over on this side. All right, thank you all. And, I'll ask folks to refrain from applauding when folks comment. Or giving criticism, positive or negative, when folks give public comment. That is our policy. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jamili Mikadi. I live in Candler, Buncombe County, and I'm one of the people that firsthand see what these young kids, young adults are doing. They're not doing this because somebody's asking them to do it. They're doing it because they believe in it. This thing started in August, and they have already done river cleanup. They have done road cleanup. They were doing invasive cleanup for one of the parks on Sunday. They are living what they are asking for. They are cleaning the environment. They're not coming in here because I've told them or somebody else told them to do it. These are the youth that they're going to be using this environment, and we owe it to them to vote yes to this proposal so that they can be able to breathe good air, drink good water, and then live in an environment and eat good, healthy food. And they're ready for it. They're ready for the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am, and then you can go next.
First of all, I want to thank you all for doing the wonderful work that you do and for focusing on all of the beautiful ideas and priorities that you have set forth. They're all deeply important. I support them all. My focus is the environment, and I am here to speak on behalf of the students who are coming up behind us and the generations that I have created my children and my grandchildren, and I want to make sure that they have an environment that is safe, clean, healthy, and we don't have time. There is no time to go slowly. I have an article here which I'm going to give to the clerk for each of you to read by Bill McKibben, the title of which is "Winning Slowly is the Same as Losing." I know that there are people here who are not interested in, or I shouldn't say not interested in, but who don't support the 100% transition. But what I'd just like to just to focus on one aspect of the environmental danger that we're in right now. And that is that according to the EPA studies in 2010, methane is our biggest danger. And it traps 100% times the amount of heat that CO2 traps in the atmosphere over a 5-year period, and 72 times in 20 years. So this is an issue that we have to deal with. It constitutes 83% of the content of fracked gas. And fracked gas is the gas that's going to be coming into Buncombe County to provide our energy, our electrical energy. It's different from natural gas. It's created by blasting shale in the earth, and it is not a natural product. 7% of this gas is purposely vented at the extraction site, and more of it is expended into the atmosphere at each of these compression stations in order to prevent explosions as it goes along the pipeline. Every 70 miles, this happens in an environment where people are living. It's usually in someone's backyard where these compression stations are placed. And since the fracking boom started, methane has increased in the atmosphere by 30%. That's in the last 10 years. It has increased 30%. So the unintended consequences of this, and I understand that the gas is thought of as a better transition from coal, but it's actually worse because of this methane issue. The unintended consequences of the upward spiral increasing the speed of climate change are the following. It increases global temperatures in the atmosphere. It melts the permafrost in the Arctic, which also tends to release more methane. It causes fires in the Amazon, and that's it. I'm done. I love you all. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you very much. All right. Steffi, and then the gentleman next to you, and then we'll get to you guys next.
Okay. Hi, my name is Steffi Rausch. I'm here with the Citizens Climate Lobby. We work on bipartisan federal solutions on the federal level. And I'm happy to see that this is moving in a bipartisan direction, and I thank you for those who put that together and started talking about this. I think that's the right movement to do. I do like that you added a timeline. I'm happy about that. I want to address cost, because Commissioner Fryer, I agree, cost is an important factor. However, we need to start looking at this as moving to clean energy as more of an investment and not a cost, because that does depend on how soon we invest. Time is a factor. Right now, a total of 40 countries and 8 out of the 10 largest economies around the world have actually put a price on carbon as a pollutant, including 60 city councils around the U.S. have actually endorsed a price on carbon. So India recently placed a tax on coal, and that basically leaves the U.S. as now the only large economy that has not adopted some form of carbon price. My concern there is what happens when the price of carbon increases around the world and the U.S. has not considered those rising costs. That is a cost. This just goes to show that those countries who move sooner than later to renewable energy will save money. The cost of action is far less than the cost of inaction. And that's actually, an IMF has put out a report on the costs of inaction that you can look at. I think it was in the realm of 159 trillion a year. The cost, so basically that will affect our economy and our global competitiveness around the world if we don't address that. Clean energy investments are also a hedge against variable fuel costs, which cost which could rise again at a moment's notice, because clean energy sources like solar and energy efficiency technologies don't rely on fuel. There's much more price certainty, and unlike traditional fossil fuel-powered sources, the price of renewables continues to decrease as the technology improves. Duke Energy was quoted in Forbes recently as mentioning that the storage battery costs are coming down within 5 years. So those costs are all coming down on clean energy, and fossil fuels are still so variable and up and down, and that causes instability in the markets. That's something that businesses don't like to endure, variability. They like certainty, they like stability. Those things affect our economy. And last thing I want to say is Congressman McHenry had quoted in his last town hall that whenever there is a market failure, that government has to step in and fix it. That is a conservative value. I believe in it strongly, and I think he is correct in this carbon market failure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel DeWitt. I live in Woodfin. I work in the green building field. The fact that you set up a timeline before we started the meeting kind of shows me the direction that the board is leaning, and I appreciate that direction and the acknowledgement that this is really the only socially moral and really financially logical decision to make. But I want to speak for a moment on the 25-year timeline, because marine biologists estimate that the oceans will be dead. They will be devoid of fish. No more life in the oceans by 2040. So that's a couple years before we would be meeting the 100%. So with all the fish, I don't think humans are going to last that much longer. You know, and I wake up every day kind of thinking about, like, if I were to have a child tomorrow, odds are they won't live to be as old as I am today. And this is a real and pressing issue. It's impossible for me to escape it. The energy is there, but the aggression is not. You know, if I have a friend who's sick, who's dying of heroin, I'm not going to tell him, like, have you considered a dairy-free diet? You know, it's not acknowledging the real core issue of the problem. And so I'm happy, I feel privileged to live in a progressive place that has progressive values and is aligning itself with that momentum. But I agree that winning slowly is the new losing. And, you know, the moral decision of whether I would have the ability to cultivate a human, to try to nurture them to the greatest potential, and whether I want to bring them into a world that I know will probably end in pain and suffering, starvation. This is reality, and, you know, we live in a world where facts don't seem to matter that much anymore, and I am glad that people can kind of step forward and acknowledge that this is science, this is real, this is the science that I was taught in high school. You know, I believe in this. We come from the country that went to the moon, amongst other things. You know, we have data, we have math, we have chemistry, we have science for a reason. And so this is an important step. I'm glad that it's probably going to happen. I hope that it does. But nothing is happening fast enough. And I think a city like Asheville needs to be, you know, the benchmark. We need to be the example in the entire region of what it means to be truly progressive. And it could be from a moral perspective, it could be from an entirely selfish perspective, and would still lead to the same result. So I hope that that momentum can expand into the broader level of planning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then you guys can go next.
Hi, I'm Don Kraus. I live in North Asheville, Buncombe County. I'm also a field development coordinator, a volunteer with Citizens Climate Lobby as well. And I really want to thank you for taking on this resolution and the different pieces of it. And it makes me feel really good to live in a county where this is being considered and looked at. I'm also thankful that you're looking at a timeline in terms of looking towards 100% renewable energy. And it's something that can be done. There are corporations like Google are committed to 100% renewable energy. Nations have committed to 100% renewable energy. As of November 30th, 50 cities and towns within the U.S. have already committed to 100% renewable energy, and it would be so wonderful to see Buncombe County also on that list as committing to 100% renewable energy, because that means we're getting rid of carbon pollution. We're getting, the impact of that will not only be just a good thing, and Buncombe County's piece towards slowing down and mitigating this crisis that we face, but it will improve health. We'll see less respiratory related disease. It will create jobs. It will really make this community, this county, a better place to live. So I really want to thank you for taking this on and moving this in this direction. As I know Steffi has talked about, there are market-based and revenue-neutral ways that can go about and talked about moving in this direction. There's a lot of creativity that could come in helping to move this forward, and I know there's many, many people in this community that will help and work with the commission in terms of achieving this goal within the time frame that you're considering. So thank you very, very much for moving this forward.
Hello, my name is Sterling Tanguso. I'm a student at the University of North Carolina, Asheville, and I'm here on behalf of Renew AVL tonight. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the resolution of Buncombe County's commitment to strategic and sustainable priorities. A part of this resolution is a goal to commit Buncombe County operations to 100% renewable energy, which needs to be achieved in a timely manner. Passing a strong 100% renewable energy resolution is vital. Sourcing Buncombe County's operations by renewable energy is both environmentally and economically a responsible decision. The cost of solar energy drops every year, and many of these costs associated with renewable energy production includes taxes and land acquisition, both of which can be eliminated by Buncombe County carrying out these projects. Each stage of economic development has been accompanied by an energy transition. Today, fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas are the dominant energy sources in industrial economies. However, the 21st century has already begun to see the start of the transition towards renewable energy sources. Buncombe County is ready to see this transition too. I've been present every time the 100% Renewable Energy Initiative has been voted on and discussed. You have had the chance to become well-versed and knowledgeable on the Renewable Energy Initiative and the finances of it. So this is your chance to commit to this initiative. I urge you to vote in favor of this resolution to successfully transition the county's operation to 100% renewable energy by the year 2030. Thank you for all your work.
Hi, I'm Paul Rubeck, and I'm here with Renew AVL, and I'm a student at UNC Asheville. I just wanted to thank you for including the 100% the 100% renewable energy initiative into the strategic priorities resolution. This is a matter of environmental justice, economic opportunity, public health, and cost savings. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Stockdale. I'm here with Renew AVL, also a student at UNC Asheville. You might imagine that I'm pretty happy today. Thank you so much. You all are going to make a very good decision. Thank you. This is going to be like a Grammy speech, but just bear with me. Thank you for establishing this sound policy for renewable energy. Thank you for creating an Office of Sustainability to manage the provision of this initiative. Thank you for successfully implementing energy efficiency measures. Thank you for using our landfill to produce energy. A lot of people don't realize that, but that is one of the coolest things that a county can do, and it is really spectacular that y'all have done it. Thank you for publishing an annual carbon footprint report, which makes carbon emissions numbers public. You might not realize, but a lot of cities that put out carbon emissions numbers, they're not tracking the same numbers that you all are tracking. They're tracking the entire community, which is hard. It's a hard number to determine. A lot of those numbers aren't quite as clear as what the county is putting out. So that is also notable that we put out a annual carbon report tracking the emissions numbers of metric tons of carbon equivalent being emitted from the county operations. That is pretty cool. Thank you also for partnering with Energy Savers Network. That's huge. What an awesome organization, and for you all to recognize that shows some real insight that y'all have. Just a recommendation to continue this progress is to start communicating to citizens about Duke Energy's EnergyWise program, which they have offered to provide free consultations to ratepayers. They'll come in and install a system where they can regulate the energy use. And I think it's like 20% of people are using that right now. If we get that number higher, then we can really cut the amount of carbon being emitted into the atmosphere. 23 million pounds of carbon dioxide were emitted by Buncombe County approximately last year, and in 10 years, every single one of those 23 million pounds could be offset. That is tremendously exciting, and it is because of the leadership that you are demonstrating tonight. As a side note, before I moved to Buncombe County, I worked in the state senate as a legislative assistant and was the lead staffer for the Early Childhood Education Caucus. So I'm very familiar with that policy as well, and I know that that is a huge step forward for the county, and it's going to make some real differences in the far future. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and very honored to be represented by you all tonight. Thank you very much.
I'm Leanne Melton. I'm the Chief Public Defender for Buncombe County. I just want to say thank you for your investment in our new Justice Resource Center. I think it's going to make a huge difference. Thank you for that, and I also want to say thank you for your commitment to holistically addressing the needs of those involved in our criminal justice system.
Thank you. All right, yes, ma'am. Yes, you can come on up. And then you can go next.
Good evening. My name is Kate Tanan. I live up in Weaverville. I didn't come here tonight prepared to speak, so I don't have numbers, but I know Carolyn, and I just want you to know I'm a member of the Western North Carolina Green Party, and all of our members are wholeheartedly in support of this resolution. This is a long time coming. And we really want to see this happen. There are so many organizations here in Western North Carolina that are environmentally friendly and that will be put all their energy behind this if you vote for it. So thank you.
And who else after this gentleman? Anybody else? All right, Mr. Brame. All right, go ahead.
I'm Scott Harden-Neary with the Creation Care Alliance of Western North Carolina. I work with several faith communities in Buncombe County. And as I work with different faith communities, I get to hear stories of the beautiful things that are happening, like Reverend Kevin Bates, who shared earlier about the LED lights that he gave out in his neighborhood, and he's on our steering team. So grateful to get to share those kinds of stories. I hear over and over again that our congregations care deeply about loving God and loving their neighbor as themselves, and I hear that from a variety of faith traditions. What I see here is beautiful. So I just wanted to say that these 6 items point directly to the core ethos of most of the faith communities that I work with, which is to love our neighbor. And so working on addictions, working with our children and looking at how we might best educate them and care for them in their first 2,000 days, looking at affordable and safe housing in Buncombe County, looking at the justice system in this county and in this city is amazing, and using the word pipeline to jobs directly after that instead of a pipeline to prison is a beautiful correlation, those two. So thank you for seeking to love your neighbor with this document. Yeah. So I just wanted to say the overarching thing is incredible. And also this generational thinking. I see that over and over again through our faith communities, that our faith communities care deeply about their kids and their kids' kids. And so I see that throughout all 6 of these, including the clean energy pieces that you put into this and the deadlines that you put forth. I also see creativity. And one of the stories out of the New Testament in my faith tradition is a story of people bringing a broken body, a man who was paralyzed, to see Jesus, and they couldn't get in because there were so many people inside the house, and so they climbed up onto the roof, these 4 people, and they dug a hole in the roof and they lowered him down to see Jesus. And the story goes that Jesus spoke with those who were condemning him and the ones that were challenging him, and eventually he healed the man. But what is relevant to this is that these 4 people sought a creative way to find wholeness in the midst of this broken situation. And I see that in all 6 of these, that you guys are thinking generationally, you're thinking creatively, and you're loving. So thank you.
And anybody else?
First of all, I want to thank all of you because I'm absolutely convinced, I know all of you care about this county and protecting our environment, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you. I also want to thank you for the steps you've already taken. You guys have already approved money and investment that's going to reduce the county's energy usage, including the schools, by almost 30%. You've already invested in capturing gas out of the landfill and you made the decision to put a solar farm on that landfill. You're halfway towards your goal when you complete the things you've already approved. So I want to thank you for that. That's huge. You guys have made a tremendous amount of progress in a short period of time. And now you've got the opportunity to take the next step and set an aggressive goal that will help not only the county, but all the residents of this county. And Mike, you asked a good question. What's this going to cost? And I would go back and say, if you look at the projects you've already approved, you're saving money for the county and for the taxpayers. So you've got the wrong question. The real question is, how much is making this goal going to save the county? And how much is it going to save homeowners when we've done more insulation in their homes, when we've helped them with energy conservation, when we've given them an energy alternative that's cheaper than what we're providing today? And Duke is already asking for a 17% increase every time, and that's not the last one they're going to ask for in the next 10 or 25 years. So it's going to make a difference. You're making the right decision now that's not only going to be the right thing for the environment, but it's the right thing for the citizens of this county. So I just wanted to thank you for doing that. No, by the way, I got the message about the number of emails. I will tell you, we were probably as surprised as you were. We had 4 times more response when we asked people to contact you than we expect for those kinds of things. That tells me that there are a lot of people in this county that care about renewable energy, that care about Buncombe County being a leader in getting to where we want to go. So thank you, and I apologize for the inconvenience of some of the emails.
Sorry to double dip here. I
For what
totally.
you do, you're allowed.
I'm speaking for myself now. I totally agree with all 6 of the provisions. I think it's great that you're doing that, and I think maybe some of the comments here are very optimistic about the cost side of things from the point of view of, I think that most of the things that we're talking about, including the work that Energy Savers Network does, will reduce costs. And so those are great things, and that's why we want to do those things first. We may come a time when there's some things we need to do that don't reduce costs, and I would offer you this observation that even though we might be asked to do something that increases cost, that's only because we're not considering the full cost, and we're not considering the cost of continuing our reliance on fossil fuels. That applies to future generations. What we're doing is we're putting that cost on somebody else, and that's called a market imperfection. And so I would say even in the things where we're going to be asked to increase costs, that we consider the cost on future generation of continuing to rely on fossil fuels. And that's my comment. Thank you.
And then Don, you can go after this gentleman.
Good evening. Thank you for your forum and for your insight. I would just like to add this on the heels of the proposed 17% Duke increase. It's not going to be the last one we see, and it's not for efficiencies. It's for remediation of the coal ash that they've already polluted. This is
Please refrain from applauding.
This is very, very important. When you talk about good money after bad, you're describing the situation of being beholden to a power company who cares less about the environment than their bottom line. Thank you.
Well, I don't have no computer powered by a battery. My camera is powered by a battery. But all these people that want 0% emission, I want to see them go home tonight and take a bath in cold water. Your greatest user of electricity in your home is your hot water heater, so y'all give it up. Don't take another hot bath. I want to see you read the report that Google store that they built in North Carolina is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's not paying for itself. I want you to read a little bit rather than sign petitions in high school and find out that solar panels are now being made in China, and they're being dumped in America at a price less than what it costs to make them. Now, why are they doing that? Because they're subsidized by the government, and they want to shut down our solar manufacturers. Somebody mentioned cost at the last. I've been asking from day one since this was brought up. I want to know the square footage of land area covered if Buncombe County has enough solar panels to have 100% renewable energy. Not one soul that came up here tonight has calculated how many acres it takes for how many megawatts. I suggest that instead of running around getting signatures, they do a little study of the science of solar energy. Yes, it's changing fast. And I don't expect any accolades when I get through tonight, because you know something? The truth hurts. The truth gets you right in the gut. It got this county in gut when I asked, what does it cost to build a library? And they didn't know, but they were willing to admit it. If you don't know what it's going to cost you to get 100% renewable energy, then you are shooting in the dark. You don't have a target. You have a wish. And a wish is not a goal. A wish is something that you get excited about and makes you tingle inside and makes the warm stuff run down your leg. But it does not solve the problem. You know, not a soul looked at every item on this list. If I gave you $100 billion to solve these problems, which one would you solve first? I think affordable, decent housing will minimize the environmental impact better than anything I've ever seen. My wife and I always had this argument. I always thought Biltmore Forest was pretty. What housing development in Buncombe County has the most trees, the most grass, the most flowers, less runoff, water and ground to soak up the water than any development in Asheville? It sure ain't these condos they're building downtown, baby, because they still got to have a certain land area to take care of the crap and grow food. Biltmore Forest has the least environmental impact. Good housing.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? And did you present during the petition process? Okay, I'm not going to let you speak again. All right, seeing no one else, I'm going to bring this back to the board. And here's what I'll do. I'm just going to read the first 3 parts of this, and then I'm going to look to different board members to make motions on the different items. But I'll just read the 3 whereases that apply to all of them. Whereas Buncombe County Commissioners are dedicated to strengthening the quality of life for everyone by setting new physically, socially, and environmentally responsible goals that will guide decisions and improve our community for future generations. And whereas we want a healthy, safe, well-educated, and thriving community with a sustainable quality of life, and whereas it is the responsibility of this board to establish strategic priorities to set the direction of the county and to address issues facing our community today, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows. This board commits to the following goals as a guide to shape partnerships and investments of resources to ensure a healthy, safe, well-educated, thriving, and sustainable community.
I'll take A.
Let's just take them one at a time. All right, so there's a motion to approve item A.
Second.
And I'll read that. Stem the disease of opiate addiction, a crisis that threatens the health and safety of growing numbers of people in our community. This is a national crisis. The White House Council of Economic Advisors raised the estimate of the disease of opiates from 78 billion to 504 billion. A recent study in Princeton University suggests that 20% reduction in the male workforce is due to opiates. To our kids that are here, if you haven't had your wisdom teeth taken out, I want to give you homework. Look at Dr. Blake Fagan's video on awareness. And when that doctor prescribes opiates for pain, just say no. Because we know from facts and study that that's how kids get started, through having their wisdom teeth taken out and prescribed by a doctor. I implore you to be smart, and awareness of this. This is how we can end this, by public awareness and education. And if there is ever anything we need to put resources and money into, it's this. A very wise young lady today told me that we need to have treatment for the disease of opiates, as accessible as opiates are in our community.
So as I said earlier, there are items on this list that we'll be passionate about, we'll be excited about, we'll be concerned about. This is at the top of mind. There are pastors in this room that have probably done funerals for those that have been affected by this. Appreciate the enthusiasm around the renewables and the energies. And I'd ask you to take that same passion, do your research, and channel it into some of these others. They're very, very important. And this one is extremely important to us and has touched us personally. And you couldn't throw enough money at it to fix it. But we're going to be committed to it. These guys are going to, all of us are going to keep doing the public forums. We're going to keep engaging doctors. We're going to keep engaging others and doing what we have to do to help save those and put the message out. And Commissioner Frost is right. I appreciate her addressing everyone that's here. You know, you may have something in your medicine cabinet that's in there that you don't need. Go take it out. Bring it to the sheriff's department. Bring it to what's on, on Lester Highway. They'll take it. Put it in a box and bring it so nobody else can get to it. This is a big deal to us. This really breaks our hearts. And so I'm enthusiastically behind this goal. So.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Item B.
Where's the wording, the new wording?
So the wording that was discussed in the pre-meeting, I'll repeat that. It's basically nothing about this, the language in B has changed, but the additional words that are added, so it says, implement the best physically and environmentally responsible energy solutions to reach the goal of 100% renewable energy sources for Buncombe County's operations. And then here's the new language, by 2030, and 100% renewable for Buncombe County within 25 years. And then the remainder of it's the same, while helping to educate, equip, and move our community toward practical renewable energy solutions.
I'll make the motion. And let's face it, it's not perfect, but we need to start, and it is a start in the right direction.
Second.
All right.
Did you have both timelines in there for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
2030 for 100% for the
Right.
county
He
operations,
has-
25
Okay.
years for the
Right, great.
community.
That's why I asked him to repeat it, yeah.
All right. Further discussion?
Just to take a moment, I just want to say fist bump to all the great student organizers who showed up tonight, the ones we heard from at the start of the evening and the ones who presented the petition. Thank you all for being leaders in our community and for making your voices heard in this way. And I will be proud to support the second. I'm going to support all these measures, but I'm proud to support the second measure for a lot of the reasons that have been shared from the start of the evening.
And I would add to that I was sort of teetering with this, but the one who really pulled me over was my grandson, who's a sophomore in college in Texas. And I was talking to him about, well, he called me about paying for his airline ticket to come to Asheville for Christmas. But we ended up in an interesting conversation about the environment. And he gave me several books to read, and he's taken several courses now in it. And it was interesting, to see where the young people are. And let's face it, they're the ones who are going to inherit this mess. And the least we can do is start cleaning it up.
I think I said it in my little commercial of you know where I stand. I'm 100% for this. But Don Yelton, what you said made the most sense is I am not voting for 100% renewable. I am voting that I wish we could do it, is what I'm voting for. I think it is impossible, but I'm voting it is my wish that we get it. These 1,800 signatures that you got, what I wish is that I can see every one of y'all out here helping to help the families this winter, next summer, to stay warm, stay fed, and work. And work is hard. And someone orchestrate this just as good as you've orchestrated these emails and assigned these kids to do what they are. That all 6 of these are very important to me, very important. But the way this energy deal has went down, there's no one up here. One of the ladies said that there's people up here that don't support the energy. I don't know one person here that does not wish to be 100%. Wish, not a goal. I brought my kids up with the saying, do you want it or do you need it? That's what we need 100. I wish we could get there.
So did I. Been around a long time, raised in the coal mine fields. Still here, 70 years old. Hadn't killed me yet. Go out here, guys, if you go out here and look, I used to live in San Diego, and I'd get up in the mornings and I'd look at an island, and if I could see it, it wasn't a smoggy day. That was Long Beach when I was in the Navy. And we got clean air, we got clean water. Mr. Presley just showed you that. Trees, forest, water. 28 years ago, he was for that. That was his son that's grown and going for his Robert's third grandchild. Sitting out here saying that you don't want to have a child to bring into this area or into this world or into this county is wrong. I've heard that you got 50 cities that are going to go this way. Well, how many of them have got there? That's what I'd like to know, and how much does it cost to get there? The people in this county right now, when you got 2,500 people that are my age or older that live on Social Security, that you people can go out and help, you young people can help insulate their homes so that they can make it. Yep. We're going to go ask for more tax money out of their pocket to do something that you're wishing for.
It's a wish. 4 years ago, Mr. Newman brought into this chamber, he wanted to get to 80%. Now it's 5 years in. We're probably not even quite 20%. In 2 of the years, we didn't buy anything to do anything. Our people at the county made it work. Talking about the schools, the school money and Duke Power, that old devil, give the LED lights to the schools to put in, Mr. Brame. You know, so, you know, let's give them a little credit. We got lights on in here tonight. We can see. How about that? But we're burning that old nasty coal and we're burning that old nasty gas. And I'm going to go out and start my car and go home. And it has to burn gas to get there. But I got one that's got natural gas, so I guess I'm trying to do a little bit better. But no, I guess I'm not, because nobody wants gas of any kind. We can't get there, young people. I wished we could. Been around for a long time. Robert said it right. We're all for this. Don't make goals. I told a guy the other day, he said that, you know, he'd talked to somebody and they wanted me to go there. And I said, well, I'd be more than happy to go there. But nobody's can tell me how much it's going to cost us, the people of Buncombe County. That's tax dollars. It's everybody's tax dollars. All these young people in this room, it's your parents' tax dollars that are going to try to feed this. And, you know, looking at different sources or whatever, if you make a goal, let's just say, like Robert did 28 years ago, he wanted to save the forest and the creeks, and he's got more to show you. And we've done it. And I've left my kids what I want. And he wants to leave his kids and grandchildren what they've got. My grandson's 28. He's old as most of you in the room. And I'm proud of him. But the fact is, why do you vote for something? This is fluff and buff. That's all it is. It's just something that we can say, whoopee, sprinkle some dust out there, and we're going to do something that's never going to happen. And I'm sorry, but that's the way it is.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. I got several things that I want to try to say. First thing I want to do is I want to thank the Energy Saving Service Group, and what y'all are doing is amazing. And Pastor Bates, I do thank you for the LEDs. And I do get to wave at you every day, and when he is doing his part in our community to make a difference, as we all are trying to do our part. As each of you told us what you believe we should be doing. At the same time, when we're looking at increasing, you know, solar production in Buncombe County, which I'm not against, we have farmers that we have to conserve the farmland in Buncombe County. It's a very, very big deal. That's a very, very big deal. We could load this room and I could get 1,000 emails from those that want to protect the food. North Carolina bounces between Arkansas back and forth for the #2 producer of solar in the country. California's light is smoking everybody. But North Carolina right now, so thank you. Thank you for what you've been doing. We are #2 or 3. So you can be very encouraged that clean and renewable energy is being advocated for and is being done in the state of North Carolina. And the bad air and the good air doesn't stop just because you hit the county line or you cross the county line. Most of this is coming over from China anyhow. You know, it'd be nice if we could put a big curtain somewhere to stop a lot of the pollution that's coming our way. You're doing a good job. The kids are doing a fantastic job, and I thank you for coming. I thank you for passionately speaking. But we have to protect the farmers. Now, my problem with this is not the goals. The way this was written up was to implement the best fiscally and environmentally responsible energy solutions to reach a goal of 100% renewable in Buncombe County in our operations, which meant where we could do it, we would do it. And that makes sense to me. Where you can do it, you would do it. You would not do 100% just for the sake of the 100%, but where you can do it, we should do it. That's my position. If it makes sense to put solar panels on Buncombe County buildings, and we can responsibly do that and responsibly dispose of them and buy them at a good value, we should do that. We should do that because we would put less carbon footprint in the air. But do you know that about 5 years ago, Texas Tech did a study on the carbon that is put into the air from congestion on the traffic, okay? Texas Tech. The closest city that I could find in comparing Asheville to, it really bothered me when I studied this and I read it. It really bothered me because I love these mountains. I come from the state of West Virginia where they take the top of the mountains off. I swam in a river that ran black with coal. A couple of years ago, they tried to gut the side of a mountain in Buncombe County to put up solar panels. I had a discussion with someone. They said, oh, we got to do it. It's a great thing. Got to do it. I said, no, you're not. You're strip mining. No difference in that than what was going on in southern West Virginia where I lived. It was a big deal. So anyhow, the closest city that I could find that to compare to was Winston-Salem. The best I could figure, the congestion that we're having out here between 240, 26 up to Woodfin, all of that area. The best comparison I could find was Winston-Salem. 50 million tons a year of carbon going into the air from all these out here idling. That traffic. Don't forget that. You talking about cutting the carbon footprint? That's one of the ways to cut it. Because we've got to be very, very proactive in that. That's nobody's fault. That's just facts. The farms are facts. We have to work through all that. So you can't paint the entire commission as not caring. We care deeply, very deeply about Buncombe County and about the environment. So with that said, I am uncomfortable with the addition of the change that was made to it. I could get comfortable with the original, some of the original language, actually most of the original language, because we're striving towards something. And it was fiscally responsible and environmentally responsible to go after those energy solutions. I'm okay with all of that. You know, I love what these kids are doing and what the pastor and others are doing out in the community to try to make a difference. And it's a really big deal in Buncombe County where people are having to decide between whether they pay for their meals or they pay for a power bill, and we should do everything we can to reduce that. And that's going to reduce emissions, that's going to save power, that's going to do all the things that you want to do. But there's challenges in this. And we'll give you another statistic. I went to a meeting this past week with people from South Asheville about CTS. Y'all know about CTS. Many of you know about CTS, but it was, if those of you that track the environmental issues, then actually y'all should have filled that room up. EPA was there, and they presented what they're finally going to do. And what they're going to do is they're going to go, and it's great. Now it's you know, there's an awful lot of people that have the opinion it should have happened a long time ago. Okay, and I'm certainly not going to debate that, for sure, because there's families affected, and it should have happened a long time ago. But they have what they're doing is they're going to go down to the bedrock. And I listen to y'all, so y'all get to listen to me. They're going to go down to the bedrock, and the TCE that's there, they're going to cook it, and they're going to get rid of 95% of it. Isn't that cool? I should get some grins from some of y'all. That's a really, really big deal. Now there's some other, and they're going to take care of a 1.9 acres, or I can't remember the exact size, but it's a pretty sizable area. Now it doesn't address everything, but here's my point. In order to do that, they had to contact Duke Power and ask Duke Power when we're going to have think it was 8 million kilowatt hours. It was an incredible amount of power that they were going to have. And they couldn't do it until May. It's going to be a 90-day process. They said, well, we can only deliver that to you in May to generate that kind of power. So that's where you have to be very practical in your goals. Would we have been able to do that with renewables? I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe we could pull it off. That's where we have to, certainly we want to take care of that. Certainly in taking care of the environment, you would want to take care of that too. But that's just giving you some examples of some different ways. But I'm not okay with the additional language to it, so I'll be voting against it because of that.
Okay, thank you. So, make just a couple of comments, and then we'll vote on this item. So, you know, when we talked about this item back in October, gave a presentation about why I was supportive of this policy approach, and you know, one of the slides I had in the presentation was a map of the world, and it showed all the different countries in the world that have ratified the Paris Climate Treaty. And so there's only 3 countries that were illuminated showing that they hadn't. It was the United States and Nicaragua and Syria. So since we discussed this back in October, one of the things that's happened is that Nicaragua and Syria both also joined it. So we're now, you know, the only country in the world that is not recognizing and committing to, as a country, going in the direction we need to avoid the most severe and irreversible effects of climate change on future generations. And that's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. And I think that, you know, even if we did have a better national energy policy to encourage the growth of cleaner sources of energy, I think that it would still be important for communities to be taking action and for the business community to be exercising leadership on these issues. But you know, in the place that we're in right now, where we just don't have that kind of leadership, it's just all the more important, I think, that communities and companies and individuals, that we're all doing everything that we can. And I think Buncombe County is a community where people want to see us lead on this. And so I'm excited that we're discussing this item again tonight. And I want to say thanks to all the folks who came out for this and spoke up for it. I don't think I've ever seen the student community in Buncombe County do what has been done here on really any issue. So it's great, and it's inspiring. So thanks for being here and speaking up. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, it passes 4-3. All right, and so please, thank you, but please refrain from a cheering. All right, item C. Commissioner Presley.
Want to ensure that every child in Buncombe County has an equal opportunity to thrive during the first 2,000 days, including access to quality early child care education. I mean, this is the simplest thing we can go. This is when you have grandkids, or you have kids that was the age of the film you've seen, and now I've got grandkids that age. I mean, I totally support it, yes.
All right, we've got a motion and a second.
Just say yes. Yeah. Okay.
Further discussion?
I'm thankful for what we've done so far.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll commend Commissioner Presley and Farrar in taking the lead on that, and we've all locked arms on this, and it's just been, there's been no stress associated with it whatsoever, and it's been wonderful. So I'm obviously happy to support it.
Yes, and one thing is, I mean, everyone, I mean, I give Commissioner Ferrara, she has really educated me so much, but we owe so much to the staff.
Sure
and
do.
It has went so smooth. I mean, I wished everything could go that smooth, and it is deep to me that we've got a plan how to do this, and it's working, and it's going to continue working. So, thank you.
Any other comments on this one? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So I'll take number D. To ensure comprehensive opportunities for affordable and safe housing is a foundation for healthy and thriving families and neighborhoods. And this is, has been my life for 35 years in the industry I was before, and I'm still an advocate for affordable housing in all its forms. And again, I want to commend those that was in here earlier, the Energy Saving Service Group, and the work that they're doing and making a difference in people's homes and allowing them to be able to stay in them in a comfortable way and saving money there, and we appreciate it. But I'll make a motion to for item D.
Second.
Further discussion?
Affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, we need it. You know, one thing that can make affordable housing a lot better here is property taxes. If we can drop our property tax from that 1 year ago was my first day setting up here. If everyone remembers, December last year was my first one. And my goal was, I do not have no special interest, but my goal is that we help the elderly people to be able to pay their property taxes, not have to do it over a 12-month period. And when I hear people that's moved in here, that's lived here 6, 8, 10 years, says our property tax ain't high, that's the people I wish would have to pay the 78 cent, and we could help them at a 38 cent. But that's beside the point. What I want to just say is, in the future, you're going to hear Commissioner Belcher, and I am going to support him 100% of how we can help this affordable housing.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item E.
Can I do E?
Yes, ma'am.
Coordinate a justice system that is efficient, effective, equitable, and protects our public safety while holistically addressing the needs of people involved in the system. And if we don't pursue this, if we let this alone, we're still going to have the same conversations. Let's be honest. There are people in this room who now have a 40% chance higher of getting stopped by law enforcement just driving home. That's unacceptable. How do we go forward unless we address these things honestly, rip the Band-Aid off? We have people in our local jail, and the only reason why they're there is because they don't have money, and that's unacceptable. And we need to pursue this, and we've made tremendous progress, but progress is all we've made.
All right, we've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item F.
I'll take this one. Cultivate a robust, inclusive local economy with a diverse workforce and pipelines to jobs and education for all. I've heard Mike say that he's 70 years old, but I'm 73. I'm the oldest up here. And this is something that I've been committed to and fought for since I was 15 years old. And we're still fighting for it. I think it's high time that we in Buncombe County set the example going forward, because what we do here will affect everything before that we talked about, because housing, education, all of it comes into play. And if we don't give people in America good jobs, you're going to pay a price for it, where it's our justice system or whatever. And we see that today. And we're reaching the point where pretty soon we're going to have the have and have-nots, and we'll have no middle class at the rate we're going, especially when I look at this darn new tax law and understand it. But we're at a point now, folks, where we've got to get down to where the rubber meets the road. And this is what we're talking about here.
All right, we've got a motion. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Anybody against this one? All right.
We're sitting down here being quiet.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nobody's opposed to it. All right, thank you. That concludes all of the items that we listed on the resolutions. I think we're done with this item.
Kudos to Rachel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel, for putting this together. Great job.
You did a good job.
All right, we also added, last item in our new business is the vice mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Vice Mayor?
When did he get a mayor?
Vice chair, sorry.
Sorry.
We've gone long.
Little
but not that
flashback
long.
there.
I ain't going to work fast.
So I have a nomination for Vice Chair. I nominate Mike Fryer for Vice Chair.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other nominations?
Oh, that's, well.
Okay, I don't hear any. All in favor of the motion to appoint Mike Fryer vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Mr. Fryer. Okay, that concludes all of the items under our new business. We do have 2 board appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There are 2 members who are eligible to be reappointed, and then there's several other applicants. Both of the current members are eligible to serve another term.
I'll recommend we, Kuhn and Edmonds be reappointed.
I second.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, and we'll let the other folks know that they can be considered as more openings occur. And we have 1 vacancy on the Community Transportation Advisory Board. We do have 1 applicant for that.
Recommend Gary Ray. Is that right? Gary Ray?
Gary Ray.
That's who I was thinking of.
Is that who you're thinking of?
Uh-huh.
We're together.
Second it.
There's only 1, just for y'all's information.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We do have a vacancy on the County Board of Adjustments, so if you are interested in serving, please notify the county clerk, and she can get you an application, which can also be found on the county website for the Board of Adjustments. A couple of announcements. On December 25th, 26th, and 27th, county offices will be closed for Christmas holiday. January 1st, 2018, county offices will be closed for New Year's holiday. January 2nd, 2018 at 5 p.m., the Board of Commissioners will hold our regular meeting here at 200 College Street, room 326 in downtown Asheville. So Commission, we were planning on holding another closed session for a personnel item following this meeting. This meeting has gone on a while. So we could do that as planned, or we could schedule another time for that. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to do it tonight.
Yeah, let's get it over. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right, let's keep it on. I just wanted to ask us, we have been started meeting at 2 o'clock today.
I'd like to have 5 minutes before we go into that.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel item.
For the statutory reference, that'd be General Statute 143-31811A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will not take any action in closed session. We will come back into open session following this item with no expectation of action being taken, but we will then adjourn the public meeting at that time.